But yesterday as well. Ndu.
Yes.
We just do the intro to that sermon.
So yesterday,
Yes.
I mean, there were questions. There've been questions, rallying around, and it seemed as though it was maybe almost planned on your part to end this month as we get into this one last stretch of 30 odd so days towards the election, and in no uncertain terms, you were asking Kenyans to make a decision not based on the individuals who are coming and, making all sorts of promises, but saying we need to put our faith and hope in institutions that should hold up the country and not individuals. You further then went on to say, or maybe this was before that, you earlier had said, look, where are these people are making promises to you? Where are the fulfillment of the promises that they made to you 5 years ago? And you said very clearly, those are the questions that you Kenyans should be asking yourselves before you make the decision. You did not favor anyone. You did not spare anyone in this. And you were very clear that if those who made the promises have not fulfilled their promises, their ilk should then not be given an opportunity to come back and rule.
Well, this did not start now. It started actually last year. What I do as the provost is to reflect on a biblical theme that would guide the cathedral. But cathedral is not just a local church. It's a church with national outlook and international outlook. Therefore, whatever we do there affects what happens in the nation and in the world. And last year, as I reflected about the focus this year, God took me to Haggai chapter 1, verse 12. And the phrase there is, consider your ways, or check on your ways. And I felt that was a very appropriate theme, given the kind of year that we had. So January, I spent time to get people deeper to understand the context in which Haggai is prophesying. And there's something special in Haggai chapter 1, and people can read it, especially from verse 15. There is what we would call a Trinitarian pact between God, the leadership, and the people. Remember, the accusation in Haggai is that they are not building the temple, they are busy building their good homes. It's not that God is against them building their economy. God is against their focus, their priority. It is not on him, it's actually on them. And I think I was applying that yesterday. But just to help you understand the Trinitarian formula there is, for a nation to grow, the focus on God is important. Reverence, fear of God is important. Number 2 is the leadership. And we have 2 types of leadership. We have the political and the religious leadership. And if you listened to me yesterday, I didn't just talk about politicians. I talked about the church itself as an institution that has been captured and enslaved by systems in this country, and therefore they are not able to speak. And I said, if the church is in that state, then it can't heal the nation. Sometimes we put too much pressure on the church. But the church itself, if it is in trouble, then it cannot be able to heal. And what you see is when the leadership, both political and religious, had reverence to God and refocused people to God, the next thing was people being obedient to God. And then after that, you read a verse that says, I am with you. So God's presence comes when the political leaders lead people to God, and the religious leaders as well. And so I knew I would come back in July in my preaching calendar to prepare people for our civic education. And there are 2 conferences that have happened. Last year, we did one on church and politics. And this year, the Anglican senior leaders, that is clergy and bishops, met, and we have had materials. But the third thing that I gave to the members of the cathedral and the public was a meter, what you would call an integrity meter. And I said, before you elect anyone, it doesn't matter which party they are in. Please take them through this meter. But this was the warning. Please take that test yourself first. If you are better than the people that you want to elect, then you should have been the leader, not them. Because we must be candid about the leadership of this country. It is not to some few people who want to rock the system for their own selfish benefits. If you are not better, then now take them through the test and see who is then the best to represent you. And I've said it. Politicians are not our bosses. I think in Kenya we have given too much premium on our politicians. We keep bowing at them as if they are demigods. And they are not. They are our servants. And time like this one is time to humble them and tell them, you know what, guys, I'm the one who employs you. And before I employ you, you have a test to pass.
I've got to take you through some interview process. What are the contents of this integrity meter?
Well, the integrity meter talks about especially four issues, and I want to refer to it very, very quickly. Number one is matters of integrity. Before you judge anyone on matters of integrity, you need to ask yourself, do you have integrity yourself? And I'm going to find it very quickly, but we can continue with any other thing that you may want us to discuss before I quickly dive into the meter. Yes, because always the problem is to put a lot of pressure on the politician. But the system produces people. Politicians are produced by the same society. And so if the society cannot pass the meter,
if we can't pass the integrity test,
how will they
subject
others into the integrity?
I want to respond to what
the provost is saying.
Yes, where his mention of the pressure that is put on the church. I am of the view that it's insufficient.
Insufficient pressure.
It's not sufficient. The reason why it isn't sufficient, the church, if I may be broad-minded, I would say religious institutions are the one place where every citizen of this particular country is on par. When you come to church, same. God doesn't have nephews. God doesn't have nieces. God doesn't have uncles, aunties. Sons, daughters, full stop. What this means, therefore, is that all these people we referred to as Waheshimiwa, before and after, all these people we refer to as senior civil servants, right up to the presidency, right up to former prime ministers, at some point or the other, these people will subject themselves to the authority of the church. It's the one place where they come to, and when they are spoken to, whether they like it or not, they tend to listen. In fact, it's the only place where they actually listen. It's the only place where they can be told. Now, if the teller who is in this institution doesn't do that as often as they do, and you know your members, you know what they do, you don't hold them to account strictly and tell them, ndugu mpendwa, madada mpendwa, iko namna hii.
Consider your way.
Iko namna hii. Because the provost is a shepherd to everybody who is a member of his congregation. It doesn't matter what you do or who you are. Same.
I want to agree totally. Actually, the religious institution should actually be under a lot of pressure because it is only the religious institutions where everybody is made equal. Unfortunately, the church doesn't put pressure on itself. And that was one of the concluding remarks yesterday. If you can't pass the meter yourself as an individual, because a church is not just a body corporate, it's also individuals. And we don't do that during the election time. We do it constantly. Every Sunday, we do it. And maybe here I need help. What is it? After all the preaching that happened on Sunday and during the week, why do we have a society that is actually under captive of systems that do not engender godliness in this country? But let me, so as I agree, let me talk about the meter. Number one, we need to check on blamelessness. And there is the description of the blamelessness. The second one is a leader who is empowering, visionary, inclusive, protector of human dignity and family values. Those are 5. If you want me to repeat: blamelessness, empowering, visionary, inclusive, protector of human dignity and family values. One of the reasons why I brought this one up is because I'm not just looking at the election in August. I want us to look at it going forward. Can we as a church, religious bodies, and as a nation use such a meter for a longer time to prepare people for election so that we are not reactive, we should be proactive. Now, and what it says is how to use the integrity vetting and monitoring and evaluation tool. So you are supposed to go there as an individual before you even think of another person. What is your level of blamelessness? Do you empower people as a person? Are you visionary? Are you inclusive? Do you protect human dignity and family values? If you do, you score yourself. Then against that, then I look at the presidential candidates, the gubernatorial, and other levels, because I also said yesterday, if you have it right at the presidency and you get it wrong at the other levels, sorry, even if you have a good guy at the top, the system will collapse. Actually, the opposite is true. Sometimes you don't have a very good president, but because systems, structures are working, then the country is held together.
Okay, so then are we inadvertently saying that if you go through this integrity meter as a would-be politician or would-be future leader in this country, then all these other promises, these many things that are being thrown at us, then essentially do not matter?
You know, if you go through the integrity as a person, you will not put pressure on any other person. But if you pass it, then you have the right to hold others accountable. Now, we put too much pressure on the politicians and the expectations, and I know why they promise. It is because they want to impress you.
It's because of the pressure they're feeling.
Yes, the pressure they feel. In fact, and I don't want to be the advocate, partly why the system is so corrupt is because you expect money from them. The handout culture in this country is sickening. I hear that every morning at a politician's home, there are people queuing for handouts. But let me tell you, it is worst when pastors are doing the same thing. I was in a conference for Christian aspirants. And one a current MP who is a practicing Christian said, let me tell you guys, the biggest problem are the pastors. I go into one location to meet the people, and by the time I leave, I have 20 cards inviting me, or I have this, I have
Harambe,
medical
this and the
harambe.
other.
I live with 10. In a day, maybe I'll have met like 10 groups. I'll have had 50 cards with me for different fundraising. Another guy who is a bishop told me of a very sad case. He wanted to run for a position in his rural home. And when they had, this is a bishop, all the church leaders said, you don't need to do anything. We are the ones who will do the campaign for you. You be our guest on this Harambe. So he was moving from the Anglican church to the Presbyterian to the Pentecostal. And he believed in them. Let me tell you, they fleeced him everything he had. And this is a bishop. He is being fleeced by the church members. Do you know you can even have a problem with the God of these people?
So they were not campaigning.
They were not.
He was attending
In
the
fact,
Harambes.
he didn't even get the votes. So it is even worse. And that's why I want to agree with my brother Muga that it is even sadder when the church gets into part and parcel of that system.
But you know,
So even as we promise, because in political leadership, you need to promise. But and I asked yesterday, because you need to look at my sermon in totality, these manifestos that we are getting, do we even ever read them? Do we, can our economy be able to sustain such? Why do we believe in the lie so much? And even before they promise again, why don't you hold them accountable for what they had promised earlier?
City.
you know, this is a chicken and egg situation. Because if I look back into history, I would be forced to argue that the politicians deserve to have people coming asking them for handouts because they created that culture.
Oh, yeah, definitely, yes.
They created it. It started off with the opposition who tell people, when people come with money, take the money, but vote for.
Kura, lakini
Yes, Kura, yes. They came up with it and they encouraged people to take money. There was a time when people did not expect politicians to give them money. Politicians were just ordinary members of the community who went to church. There are people whom you saw and talked to, you knew he was a member of parliament, but he was just an ordinary person. This elevated status, it is them who have given it to themselves.
Sure.
And what the people have done is they fitted in and said, oh, so this is where you are. Okay, fine. We'll fit in with you. You see, throughout the year, the church's mandate to talk to their congregation, the religious leaders' mandate to talk to their congregation, to revisit and then reject their value system so that they don't talk integrity, they live integrity. If there are then leaders with integrity, this discussion will be a different one.
It is.
It will be a completely different one because what they'll be telling people, they'll be willing to tell people, look, I will not give you a handout. You decide whether you are going to vote for me or not. And they should be willing to accept that I will not be voted in if I'm not giving handouts. That should be their position. But the moment you compromise, you see, there's being generous. People come to your home and you welcome them. But then there's bribery, which you want to call whatever name you want to call it. But it is bribery.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, the moment you allow that sliver of deceit, why then do you complain when the rot sets in into the entire system? Because that's exactly what happens.
In fact, I'm more critical to the church than any other institution. I am told, reliably told, that in the rural parts of this country, the reason why pastors would even change a sermon that very morning because a politician has come is because an envelope has been passed. Or they are promised after this, we will. And surely they get handouts from the politicians. I agree.
So what do they change
The moment you open such an opportunity, you've lost the integrity, you will never question anyone. So it is sadder. And yesterday I asked the congregation, because the church is the individual, then you bring the body. I asked them, what is it that you do that makes the politician feel entitled to what they do? It's because you have built a culture that allows such to happen. Otherwise, and back to what I had said earlier, if they were servants of the people, I would not need, like, I walk in town, I walk anywhere so easily because I haven't built a culture where me as provost, I'm adored by anyone. I don't. I'm simply a servant of the people, and I can drive myself, I can be with the people. I'm okay. I don't need any protection. I'm fine. But this elevated status of politicians, they did it, but we also did it.
Yeah, we allow it to happen.
We, the society, also did it. We, as the church, also allowed it to happen. And doing it will cost this country a lot. I don't know how it will be done.
Jeremiah 17 says, and I quote, "The heart is deceitful above all things, and desperately wicked. That's what Jeremiah says, not me.
What does that mean? Why is it that in Africa we know Scripture, we apply Scripture, yet we are less godly? If you look at the most secular countries in the world, they are more developed, but more cultured, and people serve the society.
We have a dual religiosity. That's us.
How so?
Well, there is the us that goes to church and carries a Bible and goes to the family, and everyone knows to be upstanding. There is the us who visits the mganga when things aren't working exactly the way we want it to work. Then there is the us who is a businessman who takes all manner of shortcuts and steals when we can, but we hope that when we give huge sums to the church, God will be impressed and we will be okay.
Yeah, we've been told that by our church leaders.
The duplicity of the human mind. You see, the West, it's not that they are less duplicitous than us, but they uphold a certain integrity. Even with their secularism, they uphold integrity. And that's why you find that their systems work. They may not be religious, but I would argue that they are. It's just that they do not go around representing themselves as godly in the way that we do.
Provost, I know Eric wants to go to a break, but on that question, I mean, the question is, you're saying, look, if you hold anybody who's coming now against this meter and you're asking these questions and they fall short, then is the next step to not give them your vote as a Kenyan today.
Exactly. On what basis do you give somebody a vote?
So if you don't find any of the candidates on the ballot fitting the bill,
you made the
don't turn up.
You made the mistake. No.
So what do you do?
No. You will. But you have made the mistake of expecting something from someone which does not happen. But
So-
just like in an interview, you score people. Because not everybody is evil. No, at least you can be able to say there's a lesser evil here. Is it one guy, I think it's Muluka, who said, eaten will be eaten. So you choose
who eats you.
what will eat you. Unfortunately, when I scan, even the presidential candidates, I look at them. You see, and this is what I say. If you marry a certain character, there should be some expectation and there should be some risks that go with marrying that kind of a person. As we go into the four, because currently we can talk of the four, please know there are consequences that go with certain. For example, and I'm only using this as an example, if you go tingiza mti and legalizing of marijuana and having hyenas in trouble, what kind of leader do you want? And you know, it's a joke that has been extended too far, and now young people are getting excited about it.
Oh,
That
they
doesn't
got
build-
excited a long time ago.
Yes, the excitement isn't even sustainable. It's actually based on some weed.
That's the problem. That is where the problem is, that you think it's a joke. It's not. 26 minutes to 8, Kenya's biggest conversation. Let's talk about content and how much you're consuming every day. News updates, celebrity stories, human interest stories, motivational quotes, business news. If you think about how many content notifications you get, how much of it is what you actually want to see? Well, with Pocket by Mozilla, we have our stories our way. Stay tuned to find out how you can have your story your way with Pocket by Mozilla. Let's take a quick break at 26 to 8. Take a look at the weather and traffic. We'll be back shortly with the very Reverend Canon Dr. Sami Wainaina. He's the provost of the All Saints Cathedral.
Do you sometimes come across all this interesting and amazing content online, and before you know it, you're 10 tabs in? Or sometimes your browser refreshes itself and you lose that video or write-up you were keen on. In these moments, I bet you wish you could store this content somewhere so it's accessible to you when you need it or want to share it. Well, you can. It is as simple as putting it in your pocket. Thanks to Pocket by Mozilla, you can curate what you love, save it to your list, and access it even when you're offline. It gets better. You have the option of listening to your favorite articles, and before you ask, of course you can watch video content as well as even when offline. Filter the best of the internet and download Pocket by Mozilla now. Available on iOS and Android. Stori zetu kikwetu.
To be Kenyan is to build bonds on shared values, beyond borders, beyond language, beyond tribe, beyond politics.
Election bila noma. Penda jirani. This message is brought to you by the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, NCIC, in partnership with the Standard Group.
Cloudy conditions in Nairobi. We're at 12 degrees, highs of 24 today. Sunny at 14 in Nakuru, highs of 26. We'll see highs of 23 in a mostly cloudy Nyeri at 13 and 12. And sunny in Eldoret, highs of 23 and lows of 11. It continues to rain in Mombasa at 23, highs of 28 and lows of 22. And we'll see lows of 24 in a rainy Malindi currently and going to highs of 27. 17 degrees and mostly sunny conditions in Kisumu, highs of 28. And we'll see highs of 28 as well in Kakamega, where it's mostly sunny at 16. Sunny conditions at 17 in Kampala, highs of 27, and we'll see highs of 28 in Dar es Salaam, where it's cloudy at 21. 7 degrees and clear in Johannesburg, highs of 17, and we'll see highs of 29 in a rainy Lagos, currently at 24. It's 21 and clear in Kinshasa, we'll see highs of 30 and lows of 20. All right, not too much of a crazy situation in these Nairobi streets today. A little bit of movement here and there on Outer Ring. Jogo Road is just as busy as it was an hour ago. And then spilling over to Landis is where we see more action now getting towards that Kamkunji roundabout. On Uhuru Highway, getting towards Haile Selassie at the roundabout, there's traffic coming on from Gong Road and also coming in the other direction from Kamkunji. So we'll keep an eye on that. Folks are trying to escape what is a messy Langata Road this morning, some spillover traffic to Raila Odinga Way. The Thika Superhighway, hot and heavy, bumper to bumper, all the way from beyond the Outer Ring Junction. And we're also looking now at heavy traffic on Kiambu Road, bumper to bumper, making its way to the Muthaiga Square. Limu Road is also building up, coming out of Westlands. That's pretty busy. You want to use the Red Hill Link Road to take yourself away from the drama that is Waiaki Way. So you should be all right should you do that. Let us know what's happening where you are. Talk to us this morning on Twitter, SpiceFM KE.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4
Conversation
Spice
continues
FM,
with the
Nairobi.
very Reverend Dr. Sami Wainaina, Provost of the All Saints Cathedral. We are talking about that integrity question and how we select our leaders and pick our leaders from, what we... There's something that you'd ask, Provost. We go to church on Sunday, we go to, mosques. And then in between the week, we are still consuming, religious content. But the way we are also behaving is going contrary to the kind of content we are consuming. How would you explain this? I mean, what causes this? Is it what CT was calling the duplicitous nature
the
of
dual identity of people? Isn't it a paradox that Kenya is 80% or more Christians?
87.
How do you explain that? And maybe me as an insider, I may not be the best to answer that question, but you people as outsiders, why is it that the religious culture has not been permeated into secular culture in this country?
It has actually.
No, let me make a certain discourse. And sometimes I look at it from the way maybe we received Christianity in Kenya. remember the Bible and the flag came together.
Yep.
One representing the colonial power, and the Bible helping in subduing the Africans to obey the flag. And so we received a religion of the colonizer that actually subjugated us as Africans. And you can look both in Kenya, but even going to South Africa with issues of apartheid, that people started looking at the Bible as a tool, an imperial tool by the colonizer. And even the interpretation of the same was against us. Unfortunately, the leadership that took over, whether it is the religious and the political, did not help in shaping the nation. When leaders get into power and the only thing they can do is to acquire chunks and chunks of land, and even sometimes religious leaders benefiting from the same, slowly, accumulatively, you're actually creating a culture. That people, when you start telling people about integrity, they are wondering, where have you been all along?
They view what you do as integrity.
Yes, and time has come that we stop talking and we do. Look at the problem of poverty in this country. The biggest problem in this country are the middle class. They are comfortable with their nice small houses, some nice car, their children can go to good schools, private schools. But the mass is down there. And let me and yesterday I said in the sermon, it's only a matter of time. The poor will get so poor that they will come to the streets.
They have nothing to lose.
And yes, they have nothing to lose. And I have said many times without a number, if you have neighborhoods that are poor, it doesn't matter whether you put CCTV, razor wires, watchmen, and the bulldogs. It doesn't matter. Those people will come for you. And I'm not exciting Kenyans towards those kind of revolution. But why should we wait for such a time? And so I think at one point the national culture and the the culture of the religion did not fuse together towards nationalism. And that's why we have divergence when it comes to people applying their faith. So on a Sunday, they will be happy, and I see it. I preach, and immediately after that, somebody asks me for something, and I'm like, did you
just get what I was saying?
Didn't you hear?
Yeah. You were doing your job. Now you're back out here.
And it's like they want to ask provost for prayer to sanitize something. There are people who believe, and I don't know why clergy don't correct their congregants, that even if you stole and gave everything to God, God will never be honored by such sacrifices. And by the way, they shouldn't even be called sacrifices because you have stolen. And that's where, again, back to politicians, they think they can loot, give a few to the church to silence them.
Yep.
That is wrong. That is actually wrong. And pastors should say, should preach the truth of the gospel.
Provost.
But as I conclude,
Yes.
let's not dichotomize too much about politicians and the general public, because it's one and the same. They all eat from the same. The preaching of the changing of the soul that you talked about in Jeremiah, you can't use one text alone as a standalone. You have to use the text with many other texts.
Have to contextualize it.
Because there is hope as you read the gospel that people can be changed. Nicodemus and the others were actually changed when they turned their hearts to Christ. There is hope for humanity in Christ. And although we are wicked, we can change. And all of us here, including myself, I'm not here because I'm the best. It's only by God's grace. And constantly the gospel continues to transform me. And that's the journey we've been called to. And so my appeal to the church where I serve please just preach the gospel. And I have learned, if you just preach the gospel has the truth in it, has value in it, and has ability to change and transform people. Don't change the gospel because of people.
Several institutions, individuals over the last few months have been saying, Kenyans, you have a responsibility to put in a proper leader. It doesn't matter where we're looking from, current leadership, future leadership, civil society have been saying, you know what? We've seen this rot that has been there before. Now, going forward, make a decision. The responsibility then rests on the shoulders of Kenyans to make the right decision. Do you share that view as well, Provost? Do you share that view that it's Kenyans' responsibility? Where does the role of making sure that those who are seeking these positions of leadership have sanitized themselves as well?
Why are we talking about it now? And that's why the meter here should be applied for the next 5 years. We react. We are more reactive than proactive. If institutions, and yesterday I talked about institutions that hold a country together, institutions can create good cultures that can accumulatively change the culture of the people. Yesterday, one of the things that I said was, do not expect a miracle after August the 9th. The system is going to produce to you the leaders you deserve. Don't expect. And to me, the institutions are the only hope for this country. Politicians will behave like politicians. It is only the institutions, and there are many in chapter 15 of the Constitution, that can actually come together and start changing the narrative of the country. Like the judiciary. When justice is upheld, you start creating a culture of justice and people knowing they can get justice.
Can I take you back? There's something you've said which is absolutely true and gets the heart of the matter. Everything we talk about ends up in the houses of God, the religious houses, and it ends up with those who are leaders therein. If I look at, you asked the question, and that's what I'm referring to, that what problem do we have? You see, even within your church, within the churches, what religious organizations have is a competing religion. Because you look at what people do, it tells you what they believe. You look at how they go about their business, it tells you what they hold to be sacrosanct and what they give priority in their lives. In my mind, that is their religion. If you look at the culture we have of theft, of bribery, of impunity, it's what people gravitate towards. That's their religion. So, and it takes precedence in their life. And what then becomes the competing religion is Christianity or Islam. That's competing instead of the other way around. But then also, I have to question how it is we train our clergy and how we continuously upgrade them. Because among Christians, all I need to do is stand up and have 10 congregants. By the time I get to 20, I can call myself a bishop and nobody's going to argue with me. And people will listen to me without understanding my training, my understanding of this being, this institution that I represent, without understanding how much I've delved into it and what it is of that institution I'm actually representing. Now, once again, the unfortunate thing is that we look up to our religion, we look up to our religious institution, we look up to our religious leaders. We actually do. But when they become like us and we can't tell a difference, when you have an election in a church and it mirrors a political election, then you feel here, you see now, the church has become the world. So where is the difference? And so even when they preach change, who will listen? Because they're not listening to their words, they see what you do. And the feeling is this person is not really different from everybody else.
Do we really look up to our religious leaders?
I do. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. And the reason why we do...
In practice and deed.
Yes.
Because, why I'm asking that is you could argue that there are religious leaders who actually uphold what we call the values that they preach, right? And they have congregants. Now, if we picked just a number of religious leaders like those, and then we know these are their congregants, can we say that you can go into a certain community and find people who live up to these values and they actually live out to these values openly and directly? And then are those ones now able to influence their community?
They exist. And then there are those, this is where I brought in the issue of these fellows who have these high positions. What sort of people are they? And it gets to the heart of the matter of the message that the provost was preaching. Because it doesn't just exist in the leaders you want to elect. It exists in leadership in the church and leadership everywhere. I mean, let's leave the institution aside and ask this person, this very individual, what sort of person are you talking about? The integrity you speak of, are they individuals of integrity? Because it isn't difficult to tell that someone is an individual who upholds integrity. Exactly. It's not difficult.
It isn't. And you see, in every society, however rotten it is, there are remnants.
Yep.
And if you look at the Old Testament, prophets were not popular people. No, in fact, some of them looked very...
unkempt.
I was trying to
castaways.
Sanitize them. But City has already used the word. But they were men and women of integrity.
Yes.
And they kept the message. And people wondered and they came back to the message of the prophet. Let me use Wangari Maathai's words, that just like the hummingbird, go get the drop of water, drop it on the fire.
Yep.
It may be
the only thing you can
the
do.
only thing you can do.
Yeah.
And I know the problem of our politicians is about money and power. That's what motivates them towards that. Unfortunately, and I want to agree with City, who is becoming like a preacher now, even in the church, mostly what you see now, why do many people want to become bishops and archbishops?
Status.
Money
It's
and
about
status.
money and
Yes.
power. And let me tell you, we blame politicians for use of power. Some bishops, the way they use power.
It's a grand thing to see.
Nobody can even challenge them. And if you dare do that, you are out or frustrated.
See, that's what they did to Jesus. It's not just current day bishops.
And let me tell you, there are systems in churches that engender power, status, money. But let me say this. Why don't we seek to be faithful as individuals? And Sunday I'll dive deeper, not into the church as an institution, but as a Christian Kenyan. What will be your role? You do the right thing. Seek to do the right thing. And you can imagine the ripple effect of doing good.
Yeah.
I can influence Ndu. Ndu, you have a family of 5, for example. If you can influence them to do good, and I influence 5, all of us 5, you can see the ripple effect of influencing when people learn to do good.
Yeah.
This thing of feeling helpless is not good. No, we are not helpless. We can do something. And so this country belongs to us, unfortunately. And if a revolution will happen in the country, it should happen in the church as well.
And it would take
and
time.
The church cannot heal the nation if they are entangled in the same problems, the society.
The things that you're talking about, Provost, however, will take time. And of course, we're used to this microwave results society.
Yeah.
That we're saying, okay, so we want change. We want to sanitize the country. We want to make sure that we have leaders who are incorruptible. We want to make sure we want it now. We want it in the next government cycle. In the next cycle, we want it now. How comfortable should we be then saying that, look, over time, this thing now, this new sanitization that you've now, quote unquote, infected yourself with, then spreading to other people, it's going to take time and it's not going to be comfortable.
Definitely. Yesterday I had two major points. And one was I was questioning on the manifestos. And I asked, are we reading them? Are Kenyans getting value for their taxes? And the text that I was using was Matthew 22, where Jesus says, give Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and give God. It's Jesus, the question was a loyalty test because of the Roman government.
Yeah.
And so they thought, Jesus being revolutionary, he would have said, no, don't pay the tax. Because every Jew from the age of 14 to 65 was meant to pay that particular tax, and they hated it. Jesus says, no, pay the tax. But we stop there. We should ask, what have you done with
The tax.
our money? Because it belongs to you. And again, back to the preacher, Muga. Don't just use one text. Look at the Bible in its totality. The Bible tells me to be able to question that. And so I was asking them, do we listen to what we are being told? And is it sustainable? And can our economy be able to support that? The second point that I made was on our institutions. And I think that's the gist of our discussion this morning. We've realized politicians will come and go. One government comes, changes things, and goes. But what is that anchors a nation to stability? And the example I gave yesterday, City, was we had Trump. With all the problems that Trump had, America continued to be great. Why? You had governors, you had institutions that held the country together. This nation will not be held by a president. And let's not over-empower a president. No, they actually do not even have that level of power. It is the institutions that are important. And I asked, the judiciary is an anchor institution in terms of stability. The media, you guys, your independence is important. When we hear that somebody can buy a newspaper headline, when you hear of brown envelopes in the media and somebody trying to tell you, I'm going to release this unless you pay me, the media is actually auctioning Kenyans. Then the police. Look at the way police are behaving now. When it's around a certain politician who is being supported by the government, they change. We see the police not being independent. The civil service. And yesterday, I actually was against civil servants who are involved in politics. I know the ICT minister tries to justify. Hello, you are in an office that should hold a country, not a political system, together. And lastly, the county governments, the IEBC, and the church. Those are institutions that should hold a country together. Because I support no one as the provost. I may have an individual preference, but because I'm a leader, I lose the right to support a certain candidate publicly. And that's why yesterday I said Itabi Mbaya, what I'm seeing with the president and the deputy. If you have a problem in your marriage, we are your children. We are a product of your union. Behave well. And unfortunately, we don't tell them exactly that. You keep attacking one another. So what are we supposed to do as your children?
Yep, behave well. Provost, thank you very much for coming. The Very Reverend Canon Dr. Samuel Ednah is the Provost of the All Saints Cathedral. He's been here. We're talking about integrity and the role of various institutions in holding this country together. He's told us what institutions we should be looking at and holding ourselves accountable, especially as we head towards the general election. How many days to the general election?
38?
Yeah, I think 38. Yeah.
35.
35,
Yes? 35 days to the general
35.
election. Yes. Keep it here for more conversations coming up throughout the show. Good morning. It's 8 a.m.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Aguna Party presidential candidate David More Wahiga will today officially launch the party's manifesto ahead of the August 9 polls. He becomes the final presidential candidate to present his blueprint for the country. More says the key highlights of his manifesto will be waiver of tax penalties payee. He said he will also recover funds lost through corruption by the introduction of the Truth and Recovery Commission to be formed immediately he ascends to power.
As I launch my manifesto, I shall be proposing the following: to waive all tax penalties accrued as of the date of my being sworn in. This will give Kenyans a new start. In my detailed manifesto, I'll be radically reducing the tax on payee.
Now, Kenya Kwanza presidential candidate William Ruto rallied residents of Meru to support his bid for presidency, saying they stand to benefit from a 250 billion shillings agricultural kitty. Ruto said his desire is to see Kenyans live better lives. The team said their agenda was to make Kenya a food-secure country and that the locals will reap big from the 250 billion shillings allocated for the agricultural sector, which in turn will bring down the cost of living elsewhere. As Azimio Moja One Kenya coalition presidential candidate Raila Odinga said his administration will ensure each Kenyan has access to basic needs such as clean water and affordable healthcare. Odinga, who led the Azimio campaigns in Homa Bay County, said a vote for the coalition will be akin to a vote to eradicate poverty, corruption, ignorance, and disease. Now, presidential candidate George Ojakoya has come under fire from Bishop James Maria Wainaina of the Murang'a Catholic Diocese, who claims that he is unqualified to serve in the very high office of president. Bishop Wainaina argued that it is wrong for a leader to support illegal behavior, claiming that doing so will encourage drug abuse and trafficking. He referred to these actions as wrong, unethical, and deserving of condemnation. The bishop noted that two issues, his proposal to legalize marijuana and prostitution, were of great concern. He also questioned why the relevant authorities had remained silent about bhang, which is listed as an illegal drug in the Narcotic Drug Act. Now, former Transport and Infrastructure CIS Sovinyan Ndeti has downplayed former State House Chief of Staff Nzioka Waita's prospects in the Machakos governor's seat. Ndeti, who is running for the county's top seat in the August 9th general election and a Wiper Party ticket, said she will not be intimidated by Waita. This is amid allegations that Waita, who is running under the Chama cha Uzalendo, has been intimidating Wiper Party contestants in the race. Both Wiper and CCU are under the Azimio la Umoja coalition party, which has seen major sibling rivalry in the battle for the governor's seat. Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka previously indicated that there might be talks within the party to convince Waita to shelve his ambitions and back Wavinya's candidature. Waita, however, dismissed such proposals, asking Kalonzo to keep off the Machakos gubernatorial race and let voters make their own decisions. And the Ukrainian army retreated from the strategic city of Luhansk over the weekend as Russia claimed a major victory by seizing control of the entire eastern Luhansk region. The Ukrainian withdrawal followed weeks of fierce fighting and marked a decisive breakthrough for Moscow's forces more than 4 months after the invasion and after turning their focus away from the capital Kyiv. Leaders from dozens of countries and international organizations will meet today in Switzerland to map out a Marshall Plan to rebuild Ukraine aimed to begin even as Russia's war efforts continue to rage. A major flashpoint in the conflict, Luhansk had been the final holdout in the Luhansk area of the eastern Donbas region, and Moscow's capture of it frees up Russian forces to advance to the Kramatorsk and Sloviansk in neighboring Donetsk. And Homeboys RFC are the 2022 Dollar Sevens champions as the Nairobi-based side outclassed Menengai Oilers 1914 to win the title at the Jomo Kenyatta Stadium in Kisumu. The curtains came down on the 19th edition of the event at the Lakeside City. Homeboys started on the front footing when Kenya under-20 international Amon Nyakundi pounced on a mispass by Nondo's dashing to go over the whitewash. By the time he intercepted the ball, there was no question as to whether he'll touch down. The query was at which angle and what acres of space ahead of the chasing Nondo's players. He comfortably placed it under the post, and Maranga Nyakundi was at hand to convert. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
The news on SpiceFM is brought to you by the Communications Authority of Kenya. The Communications Authority of Kenya, opening your world.
102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Okay, traffic building up in many parts of the city this morning. We're looking at the Thika Superhighway. It's still really thick with traffic. That started at about 7 o'clock, and we're likely to see that build up for some time, then going towards 8:30. We keep an eye on that one. What is this? And this is Lunga Lunga, really busy this morning. Industrial Area Square is doing the thing. Jogo Road started early, and everybody seems to be catching up right now. Cambu Road also packed bumper to bumper in both directions. We'll keep an eye on this one. And into the city from different parts, that has really started the build up. On Langata Road is doing the thing. We're also looking at Uhuru Highway, then going out towards the city and then into Westlands. That still continues. All right, let's keep an eye on things this morning, guys. Let us know what's going on where you are. Talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down.
It's coming up to 8 minutes after 8 on the 4th day of July 2022. Welcome to the third hour of Kenya's biggest conversation this Monday morning. So we had a clergy in the studio in the previous hour. Now we have a politician in this hour. Before we welcome her into the studio and onto the show, let's hear the day's proverb, City.
Yes, our next proverb is from Namibia, as will be the next two proverbs after today, from the country of Namibia. If you want to make God laugh, tell him about your future plans.
If you want to make God laugh, tell him about your future plans.
Yes.
Yani God can laugh.
It would appear so.
The writer of this particular proverb seems to believe so, that God has a sense of humor.
Yeah,
yes.
Mheshimiwa Ali Sohome is the MP for Kandara constituency. Good morning.
Good morning, Eric.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest...
I'm just hearing about that. Make God laugh.
Yes.
By giving you plans for the future. Asante sana. Thank you very much
How
for inviting me.
How do you contextualize that proverb?
I don't know. Because we are created in the image of God, it is possible to agree that God may laugh and also may get angry, because it is said also in the Bible that many times he would get angry and do things that were destructive, deliberately to clear.
He would do damage.
Yes, he would do destruction, real destruction. So that means if he can get angry, it's also possible to make him smile.
Yes, he also has a sense of humor.
He has a sense of humor.
Welcome to the hot seat of
Thank
Kenya's
you.
biggest conversation.
Thank you.
We've had you on video link before and on the phone, but never here in person.
It's been a long time. Yes, I'm here today. And I'm glad to be here to speak with Kenyans. Yeah, thank you for looking for me.
Karibu.
I've come from the constituency. Actually, I was just saying that actually you should make sure that I be paid to come here, because it's a very valuable time, and it's quite a challenge to get away from the campaign trails. Yeah, but also we must let Kenyans know what is happening and what we are doing.
Indeed, you must. I see you removed your scarf and you'd come here very much
Yeah,
on
because
brand.
it's so cold outside. So, and you say here is the hot seat, so preparing for the heat.
It's going to be warm.
Yes.
So, Kenya Kwanza campaigns. You're right at the center of the Kenya Kwanza campaign with UDA.
Yeah.
So, you're going to have several conversations, especially focusing on Kenya Kwanza and Mount Kenya region. Your principal was in Mount Kenya, has been in Mount Kenya, was in Meru yesterday campaigning. Headlines today and yesterday is the DP and the war words between the president and his deputy, or the deputy speaking to the president, and yesterday him saying, you know what, Mr. President, we are not competing, so you just take a chill pill. Let me deal with Raila myself. And Raila himself also responding and saying, he's talking as if I fear him. I don't fear him. We're going to be dealing with this. Now, this Kenya Kwanza, we're hearing people telling us that since the choice of the running mates, Kenya Kwanza chose Rigathi Gachagua. Azimio chose Martha Karua. Both focusing their attention on Mount Kenya. Has it had an impact?
Eric, if you want to go to Mombasa, you hire a driver, or you are a driver, or you get a driver for either for a free ride or a proper ride. For you to reach Mombasa, it will depend on that driver. A lot of extent to the driver's skills, energy, ability to take you to Mombasa, to steer the vehicle. We are talking about the executive authority of this country, and that is held without any delegation. Actually, the executive authority to the deputy president is basically to assist. So the executive still retains the authority, the executive authority. So the country is led by a head of state, the president. And therefore, the question of a deputy running mate, actually, any of them could have chosen you, Eric, or me, as you saw, I was almost getting there. Or do any of us in this room. As long as the executive authority, the president, the head of state, understands their role, have come up with their plan, agenda for the country, it is going to be possible to execute and to lead, do your 5 years, and deliver on your manifesto like we have put it in our Kenya Kwanza. Of course, you need assistance of all these people around you, the state organs, are necessary. I don't think if you are a strong, capable president, a running mate will be of major consequence.
Are you
It
saying
is true you
Rigathi
need a
Gachagua
running
is
mate.
inconsequential?
I'm not saying he's inconsequential. I'm saying let us not be distracted by the focus of a running mate. Otherwise, I think that the questions of a running mate, the reason why even before we had a vice president who was basically an appointee of the president, meaning that you need somebody you can trust. I'm very confident that Rigathi Gachagua is equal to the task, and he will deliver as an assistant of William Samoei Ruto. He's well-spoken, he's gone to school, he knows the issues and the agenda of William Ruto. He understands it. Most of it now put in our manifesto. And that agenda of William Ruto is not personal. It's actually the people of Kenya's agenda. You know, we have done 47 economic forums. And the elections we are going this particular time is actually a question of what will you do with our economy so that you get us back on track. We are completely off the track.
You know,
Yeah.
Mheshimiwa Home,
Yeah.
you're a senior lawyer.
Correct.
Seasoned. So you've dodged my question nicely. Now I'm going to bring you back to the question.
You asked me
Before,
whether he's
so let me
of any
contextualize
consequence.
it. Let me bring it now from a different
Bring
angle.
it on.
Before the announcement of the running mates,
Yeah.
before the announcement of Rigathi Gachagua and Martha Karua, the people of Mount Kenya region were strongly campaigning that a running mate should come from Mount Kenya region. that you would be able to galvanize and to mobilize your people to come out to vote, because the people of Mount Kenya feel that they have skin in the game. They have somebody that they are getting up to support. And that's why the choices, for example, that were on the table for William Ruto included Alice Wahome, Professor Kithure Kindiki,
Anne Waiguru,
JB Muturi, Rigathi Gachagua.
Yeah.
Mount Kenya, okay? Rigathi Gachagua was picked. On the other side, Martha Karua, Sabina Chege, and the others. Martha Karua,
Kalonzo
Musyoka, and the Mombasa governor, Ali Hassan Joho. Martha Karua was picked.
There was only Hassan Joho and Kalonzo Musyoka. Karua came later.
See, but she ended up being there.
Yeah. Yes.
Question is, the choice of those two, has it had any impact on the ground from what you're hearing? And here we are talking about honesty. Huh?
Candid
Yes. Conversation.
Yes.
Has the choice of Rigathi Gachagua galvanized more the people who are supporting William Ruto and those that were undecided and those maybe who are on the other side of Raila Odinga?
There are still some voters who are not yet decided. I don't know. They must be looking for different things. And that always happens during elections. And this is the clerks, this is really the time they'll be making those decisions. And if you look at the changes and the running mates that have been appointed, you asked me why Mount Kenya. Of course, if you are really looking for an office where a vote will count, it is not possible to ignore the Mount Kenya region vote, including those in the Kenyan diaspora, because it is standing at 5 point plus, 5.8. So therefore, in the first instance, it's about ensuring that you consolidate that vote behind yourself. William Ruto has had that support. Over 80% of the Mount Kenya region vote, with or without a running mate, he will get it. But even before the appointment of the running mate, he did have complete support because of the record that he has created since 2013. And therefore, I want to tell you, our vote, look at it from the beginning. The unsettling of maybe, because of course there are expectations from people in terms of in fact the question was, will he land on Mount Kenya or will he land elsewhere? Because he could also have landed elsewhere. And of course we were also campaigning that it should land in Mount Kenya. And every region really has an interest, and it is important to understand that you try and carry the majority of the voters who will determine who will sit in office for head of state. So I will tell you from where I come from our voter base, there is no change. We were never. The people supporting Martha Karua are the people, and Raila, because of Martha Karua, are the people who are supporting Uhuru. So there is no change. Uhuru doesn't have the solid vote he used to have. He won't have it because he's not a candidate.
What's the
Karua herself, even when she ran, maybe she had about 30,000 votes. I think if she's able to bring anything more, it could be possibly a similar number or slightly higher than that. But it will not eat into our vote.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mheshimiwa, what is the drawing factor? What is that magnetism that you're saying that Deputy President William Ruto already has this likability factor, the votes in Mount Kenya? It doesn't matter who the running mate would have been, that the people of Mount Kenya had already adhered themselves to him. What is that? What is that thing?
Actually, the first thing is the fact that he did stand. He stood with William Samoei Ruto. According to Mount Kenya, he stood with Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta during the last 2 elections. And you see, it wasn't a very easy period for the two of them to get 2 terms. And he stood loyal, he persisted, he campaigned, and most of the campaign teams were actually being led by him personally. Putting everything into works, and thereafter, of course, he has persistently, he has been the person who has been sent. He has been the person who has maybe filled the gap when the president is also not available. He has been seen to be the right-hand person that made Uhuru first secure his 2 terms, as they agreed, but also enabled him to retain, the favor of the people, because you also need to carry the people along after you have. So I think that the works he has done, the development record, the visits he has come to Mount Kenya have not been in vain, and he has not just come to talk. He comes with government projects.
How do you differentiate between what the deputy president did and what the president did when we know that their tenure is a presidency?
We are not saying that we are differentiating or comparing the two. We are saying, yes, it was a presidency. So it is possible to see William Ruto in the successes that we made, in the work that was done by the presidency. And he is the person who was there. I mean, there are relationships. We have created very serious bonds and relationships with William Ruto. The fact that he has come to Mount Kenya as many times as we required him to come, my own constituency, I can tell you, Kandara, he has come not less than 4 times, and with government projects. So you cannot quite ignore or say,
and this is between 2018 and now.
No. He did come even last term. Yes. I'm like combined maybe 4 times, 5 times. Yeah.
Between 2018 and now, how many times has he come to Kandara?
He has come 2019. He has come when he was being tear gassed in a church. He came recently he came to launch my TTI and also to commission it. Those are twice. He has done Harambee for two schools for me. That's 3 times. This particular term, he has done 3 times. And he has sent me maybe once or twice in activities that concern the people. And last term, once.
Those are numerous visits to at least a single constituency. So you can say, into the entire Mount Kenya region, the deputy president has really made very many visits.
He has visited
with development projects.
All the constituencies in Mount Kenya.
With development projects.
Yes.
Some coming to commission, coming to inspect development projects.
Coming maybe just even church alone, maybe development church project.
So he's been involved in development over the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Since 2018 to now. He's been involved in the development
since 2013
of Mount Kenya. I just want to focus on 2018 to now.
I think it would be wrong to focus on 20.
Okay, from 2013
I think
to
from
2022.
Indeed, the first term, he was the very able person that the president found necessary to commit to make those errands, call them errands, development errands. Yeah.
To inspect projects.
Yes. Launch, inspect, largely maybe to commission. Not so, launch or commission them.
So essentially,
to take off.
We are saying that these were government projects.
That's okay.
No, I'm just asking. They were government projects.
He has done personal projects, of course.
Yes.
Yeah. He has also done personal with his own money.
So then, as the deputy president of the nation, you could say that he divided his time disproportionately. Because if he visited Mount Kenya that often, can we then say that, for instance, areas like the northeastern province that we know are marginalized, places that have issues with drought, places that have issues with banditry, who require similar attention from the deputy president because they are Kenyans, did not receive the same attention?
I wouldn't say so. Sometimes also it depends on who is inviting. He doesn't just come. You need to initiate either a project or you need to be able to, it's not that...
no, really?
Yes.
He's the
no. What I'm saying, you see, the government has plans.
Yes.
And it doesn't mean those areas don't have government projects. The fact that he hasn't gone there doesn't mean that there are no government projects going on. And of course, also members of parliament facilitate sometimes or make the enabling environment available for a visitor, even if it is deputy president. Doesn't mean that the projects are not going on. But you may wish to have somebody else launch your project. It's not everybody. I mean, we have projects going on in Western Kenya, in Nyanza, in Coast, in Northeastern.
We do. But
Yes.
let me draw a parallel with what
Yes.
I'm trying
So
to say.
you are trying to say that it is just Mount Kenya. I'm sorry,
No,
I don't think
I am
so.
saying it's disproportionate. And I'll give you an example of why I'm saying it's disproportionate. Every time we hear that the Interior Minister has visited a place, it's usually a place that has security issues. You'll hear he's gone to Mombasa. You'll hear he has gone to Marsabit.
That's his docket.
Precisely.
Yes.
And he goes there because there is a need.
Yes.
And he goes when it's clear that the apparatus that the government has put in place doesn't seem to be doing what they're supposed to do, and he's gone there to bolster it.
Yeah, presence helps.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My point exactly.
Yes.
And I'm saying that when somebody with the position of the deputy visits a place, it is not an ordinary visit.
It's a presidency visit.
Yes, it goes a long way in showing the importance that is placed on the place he is visiting. That is really the point I'm trying to make. Because that presence tells you priority has come. It requires this level of attention. That is all I was saying.
Well, can we go to the point? What I have just told you is
Yes.
that for Deputy President to come to Kandara, I took the initiative personally to invite him. I could have had a government project because like the TTI is a government project.
Yes.
But I know for me to have it and then to have it commissioned,
Yes.
I needed to look for somebody to have it profiled. And then that was really the main reason. And since then, sometimes when you profile, as you are saying, it's important. The presence is important. And even the president himself, I think he has missed many opportunities, if you asked me, to visit different places of the country. I don't know what held the president, but I think it is important that if you look at the campaign trails, they are very busy, the schedules are very tight, and there are many, you stop over, you do this. I think a president, unless health doesn't allow, should equally, even if not as many, visit as you would like, at least make key important visits to ensure that you are following up on the projects, launching of the projects. And in fact, some of the contractors get, of course, very uneasy when they know a presidency will visit. So they will put more effort to complete. So what I'm saying, I did personal initiative to invite the deputy president. Other visits is because the church itself directly could even invite him. And by the way, many churches he has gone is not necessarily the members of parliament. But you see, of course, political goodwill is important, even from a county member of the assembly,
So when he was
generally, he would want to engage those leaders.
I think it's important here in the room this morning because you obviously one of the front runners in this campaign. Kenya Kwanza, you've obviously been selected as one of the torchbearers, right? Yeah. Now, when he was doing these visits, was he doing it in his capacity as the deputy president? You've insisted we talk from 2013 until 2022. Was he doing these visits? Was he going about visiting these development projects at your insistence, at the insistence of others, in his capacity as deputy president?
Can I first say that William Ruto is not the first government officer to visit government projects or even to launch. Every government officer who is in a position of responsibility, that is either managing or entrusted to work in government office and have a responsibility to implement, actually, there is no hindrance. Because I have even had 2 ministers visit my own constituency.
Okay.
At my invitation, I have had the Matiang'i coming, not at my invitation, to maybe launch some housing project for the police. Unfortunately, they are still incomplete 5 years down the line.
Okay. But
what I'm saying...
Was he doing this in his capacity as deputy president?
What are you asking?
Exactly.
Whatever
that.
he did.
Whenever he came to visit, through all of these visits that
he
did,
serves as a deputy president. He serves as a deputy president.
Okay, so he was doing this in his capacity as deputy president.
I said he has visited at personal level. And don't actually underrate the visits to the churches because they are as many as government as those other government projects.
Yes.
Indeed, in most cases, I think like the Sundays, you have seen him. Those are normally visits which are personal.
Okay.
So when he came because of government projects, he has explained himself in very in-depth, very deep interviews and said, yeah, I take credit. I also take, issues where we don't deliver.
So,
And-
please,
yeah.
please bear with me. So, where I'm going with this is
Yes.
there have been several arguments that he has been pushed out of government. And you've said just now that he actually was doing this in his capacity as deputy president.
Yes.
So, he has been fulfilling his duty, according to you, as the deputy president of the country. He has not actually then been pushed out.
Some of those is personal initiative, let me tell you, because if you look at the statements, even by the head of state, you need to be told, even if somebody was to render you irrelevant, there is still work you can do. But the head of state himself has expressed himself and said he feels that he has not been assisted by the deputy president. How then do I sit here to say William Ruto was not pushed? Indeed, there are clips, the president saying, now Raila Odinga, the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, is in government. What role would he play or where would he be? So I don't think we need to have an argument that William Ruto has been utilized by his principal, the head of state, sufficiently the way he ought to have been utilized. The man has energy. The man has time. The man can plan. I mean, he works with time. And, he can do 10, 15 meetings in a day effectively. So what I'm saying, I think he could have done much more. There are those, when I told you, like, I invited him to come, that was not because he was sent by the president. There are areas that the president could have used his office, the deputy president's office, by go do this. Some of these many projects you see is because MPs are either involved one way or the other, or have facilitated just like pushed the government to bring those. And sometimes you visit the minister's office, you kind of call for a question so that the minister works on your need, or you visit the deputy president's office and one or two calls, things happen faster than they ought to happen, which shouldn't be necessarily the case, because once you budget, really implementation should be processed by way of time. And,
Should be automatic.
It should be automatic, but it's not always automatic. Government bureaucracy and laziness still continues to be a challenge in this country. I want to say that the deputy president moves things, makes things happen faster. For me, my experience is that he would, and not just for me, for any person who worked there, by the way, including members in the opposition, they did benefit a lot from his office. Yes.
Let's take a break. It's 27 minutes to 9. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. The Situation Room on SpiceFM, on KTN Home, on YouTube and on Facebook. The Honorable Alice Wahome is the MP for Kandara constituency, one of the leading lights in the Kenya Kwanza campaigns. She is here talking about Kenya Kwanza and how Kenya Kwanza is doing politically. We've been enjoying our stories our way every day, and that's what our experience with Pocket by Mozilla looks like. It looks like this. No more countless bookmarks and bookmark folders, losing what you are reading, or time spent sifting through the internet trying to find something that piques your interest. With Pocket by Mozilla, you can save what you like to your list, permanently access it even when you're offline, and the best part is Pocket curates content for you from all over the internet, and now local content is coming to Pocket by Mozilla. Tell us who your favorite Kenyan writers and bloggers are. If you just think about them, you can get them curated to you by Pocket by Mozilla. It's basically this new friendly way of consuming content on the internet via your mobile device. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back shortly. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Yaani mtu ako Nairobi na nimemuzia ng'ombe. Sijatoka shamba, lakini school fees za huyo mtoto nishalipa tayari.
Nikiwa na shida, naweza pigia hospitali wakati wowote na nisaidike. Hello,
Through the Universal Service Fund, USF, the Communications Authority of Kenya, CA, facilitates access to communication services in every part of the country. Now, 96.4% of Kenyans have access to 3G and 4G mobile services. The Communications Authority of Kenya, opening your world.
Guess what? Cold Stone Creamery has amazing deals for you to indulge every day. This month, enjoy deals on 2 cups of creamy delicious ice cream from as low as 600 shillings and ice cream cakes from as low as 1,800 shillings. Visit any of our stores in Nairobi or Mombasa and indulge. Cold Stone Creamery, the ultimate ice cream experience.
Wait. Have you seen the message I've sent you? I always knew they can never be trusted, these guys.
Okay, I've seen it, but where did you get that information from?
Someone forwarded me the message and they say they got it from a very reliable source. I can never lie to you.
Okay, but what are these sources?
Sasa, now you want to interrogate me and I'm just forwarding as received. Wait, majameneni. Don't shoot the messenger. Me, I'm telling you.
How do you separate the truth from the lies and facts from opinion? The election season is a period where violence, votes, and many other incidents can be influenced or triggered by a news item. When was the last time you questioned the validity of the news you saw on social media, WhatsApp, tabloids, or blogs? Where do you go to fact-check what you see or hear? Fumbua is a groundbreaking collaborative journalism project designed to tackle misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation ahead of the Kenyan elections in 2022.
16 in Nairobi, we'll see highs of 24. 26 will be the high in the sunny Nakuru at 13, and it's 17 and sunny in Nyeri, highs of 23. 13 and sunny in Eldoret, highs of 23 today. The rain continues in Mombasa at 24, going to highs of 28, and we'll see highs of 27 in a rainy Malindi. 18 degrees and sunny in Kisumu, highs of 28 and 28 as well in Kakamega, where it's currently sunny at 18. Sunny at 19 in Kampala, highs of 27. 28 will be the high in a sunny Dar es Salaam at 22. It's 8 degrees and sunny in Johannesburg, highs of 17. And raining in Lagos at 24 to highs of 29. 30 will be the high in a mostly cloudy Kinshasa at 21. All right, continues in most parts of Nairobi today. We're still seeing heavy traffic coming off of Thika Superhighway as well as Kiambu Road today. Uhuru Highway really busy as you're getting into the city. Langata Road is also quite busy. Raila Odinga Way taking off some of that traffic. And getting into Maranga Road coming off of Thika Superhighway, we're going to see some traffic at the Globe Cinema overpass. We'll continue for some time. We're looking at the other side of the city as well with quite some traffic coming off of Waiaki Way, Ring Road Westlands, James Gishuru. Think about the Red Hill Link Road. You might use that to get into the city much quicker than the current state of things. And then let's talk in about half an hour or so. Let us know what's happening where you are on Twitter. Talk to us. SpiceFM KE.
Spice FM. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
23 minutes to 9. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It's the Situation Room. Eric Latiff, Ndu Okoh, CT Muga, and our guest this morning is the Honorable Alice Wahome, Kandara MP. We're here talking about the Kenya Kwanza campaign and the campaigns as we head towards general election. 35 days to the election. And remember, it is what? We are gunning for peaceful campaigns. Nothing at all about violence. We saw violence, remember, like you're saying, those small incidences of violence that would sprout out somewhere, church service because of a disagreement on who is attending a church service and such. But the message, the general message here is that all of us know August 9th is coming. We shall elect our leaders from MCA all the way to the president, and then we shall move on with our life and start holding those leaders accountable. It's about peaceful campaigns, isn't
it? All of us should work towards peaceful campaigns. But the highest responsibility to ensure that the campaigns are peaceful also, there is the people who are seeking electoral positions because they are part and parcel and they can make it impossible and they can be part of the planning of violence. So we all must adhere to the code of conduct. We must know this is our country. We must completely deal with the question of violence. Of course, there are people who are more prone to planning violence, but these particular areas and cases that I can see myself, many of those have been state-funded. Many of those have been state-funded. The one in Jacaranda, twice, state-funded. The ones that, the recently that occurred, I don't know whether it's an accident or somebody planned. The one that occurred in Kisii, where Mother Karua was a guest. It looks like individual, but it is not possible for a police officer unless we have been told he's bizarre, that it would be a police officer just throwing tear gas into a meeting that didn't appear like there was chaos. But of course, police have thrown tear gas there before to our campaigns. Many, when we were doing our by-elections in London, in Nakuru, I know they did it in Bukungu before. They did it in Kisii. They have done in, we were stoned in Nyeri around Chaka. There was violence in Kandara. 2 people died. Today, the office of the IG, the DCI, have not taken anybody to court. And I know, as a matter of fact, when they did investigations, they found those who were funding or those who funded it. There are people in very in positions, in political positions even today.
Mheshimiwa,
yes.
Would you say that given what you've stated about or alluded to with regards to the relationship of the president and his deputy, that the party you subscribe to, the party, yes, is functioning right now as a party in the opposition?
We are a new party. We are not a party in the opposition, but we are saying things as they are, and we are speaking. Maybe you can say some of the things we are doing because there is also absence of opposition are helping, but we cannot rightfully under our structure call ourselves opposition. You can say the things we are doing are things that an opposition party would do, but we are not rightfully an opposition party. We are going to form the government on 9th of August. Yeah.
Why I ask the question is because how then, if you do form the government, will you deal with what you've just described? Because everything you've described is a treatment that the state has often given those in opposition. Tear gassing them, everything to the last T. So if that then is what, as you describe, is what has happened to you, it is from that I have surmised that even if
it's a practice of government.
It is a practice of government to those who are in the opposition.
It has never been right from the time Kenyans were seeking for multi-party democracy, the struggles that we have gone through.
Actually, it starts with independence.
Even independence. It has never been right, including proscribing Mau Mau as an illegal movement, when you know it was a freedom, or call it a freedom party, though not registered. Really a freedom movement. It has never been right then. It has never been compensated. People have never been compensated, even today. The Mau Mau people have been struggling. The land that they looked for or were fighting for has been taken over by state capture, by other people. It would not be right if we form government. So I personally would not be part of a government that will start hurting, killing, extrajudicial killings, and dealing with people as if Kenyans are criminals, even when you are holding meetings. Let me tell you, I think it is very wrong for a meeting to be disrupted or police to be sent to come and disrupt a political meeting. No government that is secure or thinks right or is planning and doing things according to the law should do that. Indeed, the government should bring security to a meeting just in case the people themselves, and most of these times, of course, during a period like this, you will see groups conflicting or wanting to fight. And that's why we should never share a platform, especially campaign period. We don't share platforms, especially if it is my platform, keep away from it. Your platform, I keep away from it. And of course, schedules have been filed with the returning officers in every constituency. And even when routes seem to clash, you are given different hours, or you are told, can you change yours to the following day? So what I'm saying, the government should not use police to cause fear or to arrest people. Indeed, one of the things we shall remove as a government is to remove any arrests on a Friday, so that by the Constitution, you are not able to be released within 24 hours. That must stop.
You as Alice Wahome, you have a beautiful track record of being a fighter for rights. That is a constant. You have that reputation, there's a track record. Anyone who wants to follow it can follow it. But the very things that you have described, if you look at now the Azimio flag bearer, who was then in the opposition, and the time when this very same government during his first term leading to 2017, when he was agitating, the things that you've described happened to him. Your current leader was then in power. Are there things we can attribute to him opposing such things by the government? Things that if we look at can give us confidence that when he is in power, should he be in power, he's the sort of person who will stand against it. Because the things you say happened, and we saw it happening. And 2017 is the recent past. It's not a long distance past.
You know, by our constitution, these things should not be happening, and will not happen. As far as if they happen, we will be able to tell him it is wrong, and you will not do it.
My respect for you has gone even a notch higher. Yeah. You've avoided my question judiciously, so let me ask it again.
No, I haven't. I have answered. You have told you. You want me to talk. By the way, have you ever invited William Ruto here?
We have tried.
Maybe you
some of these questions.
We have tried.
Some of these questions, because I had told you,
we have tried.
The vehicle reaching a journey to the end
is the driver.
Yes, some of the questions you are asking me, you need to, you need to direct him personally, one-on-one.
Actually,
I agree 100%.
Yes, and it will because we must hold these people to account.
Absolutely.
You see, the question I'm asking doesn't require the deputy president. You see, I'm asking an observation.
What you're asking me, will his government actually adhere to the law?
I am pinning it. Yes. Actually, you've summarized it well.
Yes,
precisely.
Adhere to the law.
Yes.
His government should adhere to the law.
Okay.
And must adhere to the law. And if it doesn't, Kenyans must keep the government in check, must criticize, and the results or consequences should not be unlawful. Arrest should not be criminalization of politicians because they are speaking. The work of a politician is actually not, and all of members of parliament, really, their biggest law right now is oversighting the government.
Sure.
Whether you are in government or you are in the minority.
Okay, so let's take a snapshot then. Let's take a snapshot into Kandara specifically.
So you have tried to invite him, that's what you are saying?
Yes, and maybe you can take our message to him. It would be really great then, an opportunity for him to come and be in the room with us.
Yes.
And we can follow up on that with you.
Yes.
But then let's take a snapshot into Kandara. You're running again for Member of Parliament amongst 14 other people, right? Last week, there was a manifesto that was put out by Kenya Kwanza. So now let's zero into Kandara. Would it reflect the same of what you would hope to do? Or are we looking at something totally different? Just before you came, 7 o'clock, we had a discussion with the provost of the Anglican Church. Yeah. And he said to us something very clearly, that it should mirror across board. It should mirror, if this is what you want to do at the very top, it should trickle through and through if you're part of a particular association.
Ours is not trickling from the top. May I remind you?
Oh, I'm sorry.
We are bottom.
Got it. So are you going?
Yes, so
what we've seen then in terms of the Kenya Kwanza Alliance at the top, did it then start from you, for example?
We have held an economic forum in Muranga at Kakoigo Maragwa constituency, which we have done in every other county. And that was a county forum where people from Kandara and all the other 6 constituencies, total 7 constituencies, attended and made presentations. In fact, one of the coffee farmers who really made very good contributions, who are languishing, because farmers are languishing in poverty, came from Kandara. So it will mirror, and it should mirror. The plan is very simple, that we have a new economic model that then focuses on where the majority of the people we are saying we need to change their lives, we need to touch their lives, we need to improve the economy, we need to have food on their tables, we need to have services, be it water, be it food, be it health, there at the bottom. So Kandara would benefit because we're also talking about funds that are national funds, but that will focus on medium, small enterprises, medium and small enterprises, macro, medium, small enterprises, talking about Mama Boga, the small shop owner, the small farmer. We are talking about agriculture, increasing production, so that then when you talk about production of, say, for example, very simple examples we have given, a farmer who has one simple cow or two cows is milking, maybe getting 3 liters to 5 liters per day because the feeds are not affordable, or they are not available, or that they cannot be able to access the markets. That farmer, given the necessary feeds, proper feeds, not adulterated feeds, will then triple their milk production to maybe double to 10 liters. Instead of earning maybe 1,000 a day, they earn 2,000 a day. So we have a very, and I hope you have been able to go through our manifesto. When you look at it, unless we want to tell us what we are doing is right, and it cannot be right if 85% of Kenyans then are not having jobs or not having enough income, and that we are now not even able to access health services. So something is completely gone wrong. Our debt has completely gone out of the bounds. We have borrowed beyond what Parliament even allowed, and we had to work backwards, to admit money that was borrowed without authority. And I can tell you, authority of Parliament to be accepted to come within the national debt. So we have looked at before that big mega projects like the gun factory with 4 billion employing only 100 people. Same amount of money, invest in coffee farmer or tea farmer, you will likely get up to 15 billion with the same money. We are not saying we don't need big factories, but even when we think out of an investment or a project that will spend Kenyan money, we must worry and find out how many jobs will it create. Because we also need the big investments, but we must know, will they be investments that will create jobs? If they are in textile, how will then that be able to start? How many farmers are you looking at who will feed into, not the other way around, not that the factory will employ 2,000 people. We want to hear that factory will be supplied by maybe 100 or 50,000 farmers, so that then we can invest there, and it will employ another maybe 3,000 people. That way then you'll be able to answer to the question of both those who don't have and those we need to change their lives, where we need to take the money.
So it's a multiply effect.
Yes.
Some of the commentary that has come out of those who have looked into this manifesto has been the silent way in which the manifesto has treated the issue of corruption. Acknowledgement of corruption as a vice, acknowledgement of what corruption has done to the amount of money that is budgeted every year and where the money goes, and then the plans of how to deal with corruption. Maybe you can address that.
Maybe they needed to tell us who has spoken about corruption and what they have done about corruption now. You see, when you look at Azimio, it's the current government. It's the transition and succession of Uhuru Kenyatta is into Azimio. So they cannot be the ones criticizing our manifesto on the question of corruption, because they needed to answer the question of corruption from 2013 to current. So then when I come to how we have treated the same question, we have said we shall strengthen the institutions. You see, what has happened and why we have failed is because of cronyism, is because of state capture, and because we have politicized corruption. For these last 10 years, the people who support Uhuru are okay. And I'm talking about Uhuru because he's my president. And eventually the buck will stop at him. You see, you may want to say somebody else, but the authority of this country, then the buck and the whatever garbage we shall have will stop at his door. Because once you take a job, you must accept responsibility. If this spice fails and you are the drivers, there is no way you are going to say it's Alice who came one day. You will say, oh, there is something we didn't do right. So we have treated corruption squarely and we have addressed the question, how do you deal with it? And you must deal with it in a manner that the institutions that are because it will continue to happen unless we work on our infrastructure. The institutions of governance in this country don't work. The judiciary has to keep on begging for funds. They don't have enough courts. People cannot access courts, and administration of justice means that you have enough facilities to work on it.
How will
that
Kenya
judges
Kwanza,
are also independent.
Specifically, how will Kenya
William
Kwanza
Ruto
support
has spoken
the judiciary?
has spoken himself personally, and Kenya Kwanza has captured that the judiciary will have its fund well funded as required in the constitution, because the independence starts with financial independence. Eric, you know that. But you have no information. And then, of course, the appointment of judges and enough personnel. So that then, if these cases of corruption reach court, one, they need to be dealt with properly without interference. One way not to interfere is that the judges don't need to look at their back. Oh, tomorrow I may be taken also arrested. You have seen also judges being humiliated and arrested politically because which judge has been found guilty? Politicization of even the judiciary affecting their tenure. We have the DCI. DCI has done nothing for the last 5 years other than running after people he feels or he has been told these people are supporting William Ruto. He has done nothing else. Which cases
So
we need? You needed to call them here, for example, or to hold them to account on how many cases have they successively prosecuted.
They will tell you they don't have prosecutorial powers.
No.
All they can do is investigate
In
as the
fact,
DCI.
Thank God, Muga, that you have raised that issue. The reason why prosecutorial powers were removed from the police is the same reason that before people were arrested, held in communicando, and not taken to court on time. And of course, trumped up charges because the police will be the investigating officers, they will be the arresting officers, and they will be the prosecuting
What
the
will Kenya
prosecutors.
Kwanza
So
do specifically
we split that so
with
that we
that
can
issue
have
of DCI?
separation. You see, the DCI right now, his business is to do proper investigations. He should be asking for a state-of-the-art lab,
Which was launched the other day.
which was just launched the other day. I don't know whether it's a state-of-the-art, but eventually it was launched.
We were told
So
it
that,
is a
yes, we were
state-of-the-art.
told. Yeah, we don't know. We need to interrogate. And of course, we need to see results because there is a lot of investment that we have put in place. So he needs to have clean files, good files, no politics, before he takes those cases to the prosecutor, who is the DPP. And indeed, you have seen a fight between them and the DPP. I think the DPP, to be very honest, have done maybe a much better job in terms of refusing to be held captive by the DCI, because the roles are different and the DPP roles are in the Constitution. The roles of even the DCI, they investigate, take the file if you have evidence, let an independent body then prosecute. Then the court also is independent. And that's, you need to separate, ensure the DCI also has enough personnel, has enough infrastructure to help him carry out, do his job, because also you don't also deny him sufficient, you can also destabilize or disable the DCI, but you need to create proper environment for them, infrastructure, and then before they go to DPP, the most of the things that he needs is actually personnel, prosecutors, because he cannot do the job without enough lawyers, properly trained lawyers. And of course, with the EACC, I don't know, EACC we should disband. Clearly, because it has not delivered all these years.
Mheshimiwa, come again. And let's talk about the issue of integrity in the next conversation, right?
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. The Honorable Ali Swahome is the MP for Kandara
You haven't told
constituency.
me asked me anything about Kandara constituency.
We
Of
have.
course.
That was it, the bottom up.
Bottom up.
Yes.
Yes, I'm
And
coming
we
back.
were
The good thing is that
is
I'm
you're
coming back. I'm coming back.
We hope the next time we see you, you'll come
Yes.
here with a gunia of avocados from Kandara.
It's one of our largest crops now.
Yes.
Yeah, we are
And we hear you're dealing with thugs on a daily basis in the farms, which is a sad thing. But say hello to the people of
thugs.
Kandara.
It is poverty.
That's
Once
it.
bottom up comes, these people will be engaged in serious work. Thank you.
Keep it here for more conversations. In the next hour, we have a conversation with the Honorable David Ole Sankok. He's a nominated member of Parliament. Very good morning to you. It's 9 o'clock.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning, this is Newswire Dennis Aseto. The Ghana Party presidential candidate David Wahiga will today officially launch the party's manifesto ahead of the August 9th polls. He becomes the final presidential candidate to present his blueprint for the country. Mauri says the key highlights of his manifesto will be waiver of tax penalties payee. He said he will also recover funds lost through corruption by the introduction of the Truth and Recovery Commission to be formed immediately he ascends to power.
As I launch my manifesto, I shall be proposing the following: to waive all tax penalties accrued as of the date of my being sworn in. This will give Kenyans a new start. In my detailed manifesto, I'll be radically reducing the tax on payee.
Newswire will be following up on that development and bring you the latest in our subsequent news bulletins. Now, William Ruto enjoys a huge support in Mount Kenya due to his record since 2013. This is according to Kandara MP Ali Swahome, who says that the Mount Kenya vote is intact and that Martha Karua having been chosen as a running mate has not affected Kenya Kwanza's votes in any way.
There are still some voters who are not yet decided. I don't know. They must be looking for different things. And that always happens during elections. This is really the time they'll be making those decisions. And if you look at the running mates that have been appointed, you ask me why Mount Kenya? Of course, if you are really looking for an office where a vote will count, it is not possible to ignore the Mount Kenya region vote, including those in the Kenyan diaspora. So I will tell you from where I come from our voter base, there is no change. We were never. The people supporting Martha Karua are the people, and Raila, because of Martha Karua, are the people who are supporting Uhuru. So there is no change. Uhuru doesn't have the solid vote he used to have. He won't have it because he's not a candidate.
In an interview with SpiceFM, she says that Ruto enjoys the support of Mount Kenya because he stood with Uhuru during the past 2 terms and has enabled him have the success during the past 2 terms.
William Ruto has had that support. Over 80% of the Mount Kenya region vote, with or without a running mate, he will get it. But even before the appointment of the running mate, he did have complete support because of the record that he has created since 2013.
On whether Ruto has been pushed out of government, Wahome had this to say.
He actually was doing this in his capacity as deputy president.
Yes.
So he has been fulfilling his duty according to you as the deputy president of the country. He has not actually then been pushed out.
Some of those is personal initiative, let me tell you, because if you look at the statements, even by the head of state, you need to be told, even if somebody wants to render you irrelevant, there is still work you can do. But the head of state himself has expressed himself and said he feels that he has not been assisted by the deputy president. How then do I sit here to say William Ruto was not pushed?
Now, presidential candidate George Ojakoya has come under fire from Bishop James Maria Wainaina of the Muranga Catholic Diocese, who claims that he is unqualified to serve in the very high office of president. Bishop Wainaina argued that it is wrong for a leader to support illegal behavior, claiming that doing so will encourage drug abuse and trafficking. He referred to these actions as wrong and unethical and deserving of condemnation. The bishop noted that 2 issues, his proposal to legalize marijuana and prostitution, were of great concern. He also questioned why the relevant authorities had remained silent about bang, which is listed as an illegal drug in the Narcotic Drugs Act. Now, former Transport and Infrastructure CIS Ndeti held and played former State House Chief of Staff Nzioka Waita's prospects in the Machakos governor's seat. Ndeti, who is running for the county's top seat in the August 9th general election, and a Wiper Party ticket, said she will not be intimidated by Waita. This is amid allegations that Waita, who is running under the Chama cha Uzalendo, has been intimidating Wiper Party contestants in the race. Both Wiper and CCU are under the Azimio la Umoja coalition party, which has seen major sibling rivalry in the battle for the governor's seat. Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka previously indicated that there might be talks within the party to convince Waita to shelve his ambitions and back Wavinia's candidature. Waita, however, dismissed such proposals, asking Kalonzo to keep off the Machakos gubernatorial race and let the voters make their own decisions. And the Ukrainian army retreated from the strategic city of Luhansk over the weekend as Russia claimed a major victory by seizing control of the entire eastern Luhansk region. The Ukrainian withdrawal follows weeks of fierce fighting and marked a decisive breakthrough for Moscow's forces more than 4 months after the invasion and after turning their focus away from the capital Kyiv. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseta. Good morning.
The news on SpiceFM is brought to you by the Communications Authority of Kenya. The Communications Authority of Kenya, opening your world.
94.4 Spice FM. Nairobi.
All right, so we're still looking at traffic this morning. Coming off the Thika Superhighway still continues. Coming in from just after Survey out towards the Pangani underpass. We're also looking at it coming off of Kiambu Road, much better than it was about an hour ago. On Uhuru Highway, then getting into the city and then out towards Westlands, that still continues for a beat. We're also looking at traffic much better coming out of Westlands towards James Gishuru and then out towards Wayaki Way, much better as well. Langata Road is still packed going out towards the interchange. That will be there for some time from all that we see. And Jogoo Road, still pretty heavy traffic as you're getting out towards Landis and then towards the Kamkunji roundabout. That's really heavy traffic in and outbound. It continues. Let us know what's going on where you are at a few minutes after 9 o'clock. Let's talk then on SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your
7
day.
after 9. Good morning and thank you for keeping it locked on Spice FM. This is the home of Kenya's biggest conversation. You're here until the top of the hour where the show ends. We've been here since 6 a.m. this lovely Monday morning, the 4th of July, 2022. We have a new guest in the studio, nominated member of parliament. Before we welcome and introduce him to the show, let's hear the day's proverb, City.
Yes, the day's proverb is from Namibia. If you want to make God laugh, tell him about your future plans.
If you want to make God laugh, tell him about your future plans.
Mweleze mpangilio. And in the details.
Look at him like, hey.
Ndio umepanga, eh? Sawa. Endelea. Mheshimiwa, what do you think of the proverb?
Perfect. And very true.
Kweli, eh?
Yes.
Why?
You can wake up today with a lot of plans, but end up in hospital. Worst, you can end up in mortuary. So, God must laugh when you tell him your plans.
When you think you're the one who is going to be
we are
sorting out
control.
everything.
I'm telling you, destiny and fate It's like there is a remote control that control human beings.
And you have absolutely no idea
what is happening.
What's happening. The Honorable David Ole Sankok is a nominated member of Parliament. He joins us now in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation and the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Thank you.
Sasa, it's been a while since we started looking for you, but it's always a good thing whenever it comes to fruition.
As you have said, it's God that control our plans. So this is the day that the Lord have made. And I'm here. And I'm here to answer all the questions that you want to ask. Unajua mdomo yangu ikuange na speed governor.
Everything you're asked, you put it out there.
Yes, because it is just on my fingertips.
You say it as it is.
Yes.
You're a nominated member of Parliament.
Yes.
Among the members of Parliament who are nominated by Jubilee.
Yes, to represent persons with disability.
Representing persons with disabilities.
A constituency of 7 million Kenyans with disabilities. Yes.
Speaking about them, articulating their issues and representing them before the National Assembly. How would you rate yourself? Have you actually spoken for the 7 million Kenyans?
If today, my brother, you are told to do an exam and you mark for yourself, you'll give yourself 100%.
Yes.
So I don't wish to fall under that trap.
When I'm honest with myself,
but I think
I'll look at the exam and how it was, how I performed.
But I think it is the duty of Kenyans, especially those with disabilities, to rate how I've performed. But to me, I've performed with all my powers, with all my energy, and with all my knowledge to the best that I could have done, and the best that God have enabled me to do. And again, today I'm in UDA. And even in the economic model that we are having as UDA, and in the creation of the manifesto, I made sure that I participated 100% to make sure that issues of persons with disabilities are taken into consideration. When I was in Parliament, I was rated in 3 years consecutive as the best performing male member of Parliament. I think for 1 year it is only Millie Odhiambo that was ahead of me. Simply because I
as the best performing male member of Parliament.
No, I'm saying I was the best performing member of Parliament. But then when it came to overall, there was one day that one female was ahead of me by the name Millie Odhiambo. And why do I perform to the best and to be the best? Is because issues of persons with disability are cross-cutting. If we discuss a bill that concerns women, there are also women with disabilities. If we discuss a bill that concerns youth, there are also youth with disabilities. So the issues of persons with disability are cross-cutting. When you talk about budget, I also need to know what is there for persons with disability. That is why if you have followed our Parliament, 12th Parliament, I usually go to Parliament before the Speaker and get out after the Speaker. I'm very punctual because I don't want anything to pass by without bringing the issue of persons with disability. When there is a appointive position, I'll also have to ask if Article 54 of our Constitution, where appointive position 5% should be given to persons with disability, where are they? Now, let me bring you to what we have done in the manifesto of UDA so that you know how we participate. In UDA, we have said that we will focus on persons with disability. The first one is on what we call Agenda 101. Agenda 101. Na agenda 101 kwa watu walemavu ni ya kwamba person with disability will require representation. They require CS position. They require 2 PS position, that is 3. They require 2 senators. They will require 2 members of National Assembly. They require 94 MCAs, meaning 2 MCAs, a man and a female, in every ward, in every county, so that we have 94 MCAs representing persons with disability. Total to, in terms of representation, to 101. That is why we call Agenda 101. We have also said in the manifesto of UDA that persons with disability, in terms of education, first, we have to do away with special schools. We want integrated system of education. Because if you take me to a special school, even if I become number 1 in a special school, I know I'm number one among the stigmatized. But if you take me to an integrated school, because what we do, if I'm on a wheelchair, why don't you just put a ramp to the classroom so that I can access that classroom and study with other children? Because if I study with other children and I become number one, I will realize, yes, okay, I am able but differently. Yes, I am able in classroom, but also there is number less in that class who may be physically able in the field. So I will say I'm disabled in the field, but able in classroom. You are able in the field, but you are disabled in the classroom. And again, if I start interacting with the general public, the issue of stigmatization will go down. My self-esteem will come up. Because, my brother, if I ask you and my sister, if you can have a special primary school and probably succeed in having a special secondary school, will you have a special university for me to go and study?
No.
If I'm a person with disability?
No.
Will you have a special supermarket where I will be shopping? Will you have a special workplace where then all of us will be put together to work in one place?
You have to integrate.
I have to integrate. So the earlier we start integrating, the better. We have also said the sign language, as it is now, should be examinable by a NEC so that all kids that are going to school can study 3 languages. That is English, Swahili,
and
sign language. So that even that teacher can be in a classroom where there are deaf students and those who can hear. So you can talk at the same time sign. Yes? Uongee na pia uongee na lugha ya ishara kwa ule mwenye asikii ajue kenye unasema na ule mwenye anasikia asikie kutoka kwa mdomo yako. So we have said that in that manifesto. We have also said in that manifesto of UDA that when it comes to manufacturing, we also need persons with disability to participate in the manufacturing industry. And we have said we don't need to have money to be allocated money. What we need is so simple, is that in Kenya, there are 400,000 wheelchair users. And each wheelchair costs approximately 30,000. 30,000 times 400,000, that is 12 billion. Meaning, Kenyans are sitting on a metallic gadget worth of business, 12 billion. If you add crutches, the ones I have, calipers, the one also I have, hearing aids, and you add white canes and others, we have a business worth 100 billion with a ready market because there are 7 million Kenyans with disability. So if we invite investors to invest on manufacturing of assistive devices, mobility devices of persons with disability, they will have a business worth 100 billion. They will have a market bigger than Nairobi because Nairobi is 6 million. Kenyans with disability are 7 million. So in that, we also participate in the manufacturing industry. We have also said in that manifesto that all market stalls, 5% should be allocated to persons with disability. We have also said businesses licenses fee should be waived for persons with disability in counties for at least 2 years because we have a vicious circle of poverty among persons with disability. They have been marginalized for a long time. To bring them to par is just waive that license, business license for them for 2 years. Once they have picked up, it is okay. We have also said there is something called ACPO, Access to Government Procurement Opportunities, in which government tenders, 30% are allocated to women, youth, and persons with disability. But unfortunately, women, and my sister is here, also have their husband, and they take the lion's share because they will be assisted to apply to this ACPO. They take 25%. Youth, because they are faster than us, they will take 4.5%. And then persons with disability have only benefited through ACPO at 0.5%. And most of the cases, they are given supply of toothpicks, supply of toilet papers, newspapers, economically not changing their life. So what we have said is that in the manifesto, at least 5% of that 30% must be set aside for persons with disability, specifically for companies.
Even as you're saying this, Ms.
Yes.
Shimwa, everybody who lives in this country and is
Yes,
a person of disability is excited about that, because we've had conversations here before where people living with disabilities have even asked, I mean, all the things that you've said are fantastic, but I've asked for the smallest consideration when it comes to, even let's not even go beyond what happened during the heaviest throes of COVID.
Yes.
When they were saying, can we also be included in this cash program, for example?
Cash transfer.
Can we make sure that we are getting something? So even that was a problem. Not for us to even start talking about manufacturing and agriculture, etc., etc. So my point is that it seems as though there's little to go around, which you've just testified to right now, right?
No.
It's not the youth you said are faster than us. The women also have their husbands.
Yes.
By the time it gets to people living with disability, it's been eaten away at.
Yes.
So there's just very little left. So the question then is, even as this manifesto has come out, the people who are listening, whose hope is hinged on this very thing, they're asking, how will it be done? If you're already saying that it is not enough, how are they going to get that which they clearly need?
I was just still going through the manifesto, and I think I should first of all explain to you, because I was the chairman National Council for Persons with Disability, but that the first thing that we did was to categorize persons with disability. There are categories of persons with disabilities. There are those who are physically disabled. There are those who are visually impaired, they're blind. There are those who are deaf, hearing impairment. There are those who are persons with albinism. And then there are those who are severely disabled. Yes. And then we said, if you are a person with albinism, the only thing that you require is sunscreen lotion to protect you from the sun rays, and then you can do business like any other person. You can go to your day-to-day work because physically you are able, as far as you protect you from the sun rays. That is what we did. We set aside 100 million for sunscreen lotion so that person with albinism now can go out, because we don't also want to make person with disability look like supplicant, always seeking favors. We don't need sympathy. We need opportunities.
Right.
So for those who are physically disabled, we provided assisted devices, yes, and allow them to move with wheelchairs and crutches and probably do business. We have also categorized in terms of those who are severely disabled and those who are not severely disabled. Those who are not severely disabled and are underage, we take them to school so that they can study, they become doctors, they can become engineers, and then they can better their life. Those who are already adults, whom we cannot take to school, and they are not severely disabled, we economically empower them. That is why I talk about market stalls. That is why I talk about access to government procurement opportunities. That is why I talk about manufacturing, so that we don't only give them, but we allow them to economically empower themselves, but we assist them to do business so that they don't look like sympathy. But there are those who are severely disabled that you have mentioned. Those ones that need 24-hour care. Those one ambao mama amekataa kwenda kazi kwa sababu huyu mtoto ako na cerebral palsy. With cerebral palsy, at the age of 30, you still need diapers.
Yeah.
And at the cerebral palsy, we cannot train you in any way. Because the only thing we can even train you is only to be able to do what we call toileting, to be able to take yourself to toilet. So we cannot take you to school. We cannot also empower you economically because you cannot do any business. So what we do is to have cash transfer, that a monthly stipend, not maybe not enough, but only to say huyu mama ameshindwa kwenda kibarua, so that I take care of that person with disability, apate kitu kidogo ya kununua chakula na kununua nguo. And then again, with that cash transfer, there is also the NHIF card. Because there is a thin line between somebody with severe disability and medical condition. If you are cerebral palsy, kila wakati uko mgonjwa. So tunakupatia NHIF card so that huyu mtoto akigonjeka usikue tena unaingia kwa mfuko na wewe ndio huyu uende kibarua. So we have categorized them in those categories. And that's why in our manifesto of UDA we have said currently there are 47,200 beneficiaries of cash transfer with severe disability. Because those who are not severe disability, we don't give them handouts. We empower them to work for themselves because we don't need sympathy. We need opportunity. But wale ambao hata ukimpatia pesa mentally disabled, hata hiyo pesa atatumia kama tissue paper. Ajui maana. Lakini ule mtu mwenye anamshughulikia ndio tunampatia kitu kidogo ya kumshughulikia. Okay. So we have said in our manifesto, currently there are 47,200 beneficiaries. We want to triple that one to 150,000 beneficiaries of cash transfer, because in Kenya,
how many people live
with severely disabled? Yeah. We have 148,000 currently that we know.
148,000 people in this country.
We are severely disabled. Wala ambao hawezi jifanyia kazi, wala ambao ni mkono wa mtu tu ndio itamfanyia kazi.
So why are we only benefiting 47,000? Why is your manifesto only talking about half of this?
No, I've said currently the cash transfer is 47,200.
Yes.
But in our manifesto, we'll take it to 150,000. We add 2,000 in case there is an increase, because there may be an increase. But currently, it is only 47,000. And you know, of course, pesa haijaitosha ya serikali. And when we explained to the government, because I was the chairman National Council for Persons with Disability, I've gone severally to the Ministry of Labour and I've summoned them to Parliament. I've told them, unlike pesa ya wazee, ambao tunapatia anybody mwenye amefikisha 70 years and above. And some of them are very rich. Yes? You know, Raila is above 70 years. We cannot give him cash transfer.
The 2,000, yes.
The 2,000. Again, mtu mwenye amefikisha 70,000.
70 years.
70 years was once young. He had an opportunity to better their life. Nika explain how this severely disabled person never had an opportunity to better their life. I've talked to them to give all of them, any person with severe disability, the cash transfer.
What has the challenge been?
Wakakata.
Why?
Wale waliokata ni akina nani?
The Ministry of Labour, consecutive from 2014, because that is when I started advocating for them, because it is Kibaki who brought the cash transfer and started with 40. Actually, he started with around 200 severely disabled persons as a pilot project, and then it went to 47,200. And then I brought data to the Ministry of Labour and told them we have, at that time we had around 140,000. So we need to capture all of them because they have no alternative. You know, wazee wako na alternative. They had an alternative to better their life when they were young.
What has the government been responding? What's the response from the government?
The government response have been that they don't have money. There was a time that we had an argument in Parliament because they say they don't have money, yet they were only capturing at that time 38,000 older persons. All of a sudden, they are capturing around 1 million older person who need the money more than the other. It is severely disabled. So how do you capture 1 million older persons in cash transfer and leave the severely disabled persons without giving them cash transfer? That is been our argument. And that is why when I had an opportunity now to be part of the manifesto of UDA, that was my number one point. Now, when you go to the other points of our manifesto, is the issue of sports. That in Kenya, we consider able-bodied medals as if they are more better medals than those with disability. For me, I don't think there is a medal that have a disability. And in, for instance, Paralympic versus Olympic. In Olympic, you can only win 2 gold medals in 100 meters for female and male, isn't it?
Yep.
But for Paralympic, you can win 10 gold medals because there is Paralympians, 100 meters, who are on wheelchairs. There are those on crutches. There are the amputees. There are those who are visually impaired. There are those who are T33, mentally disabled.
What's T33?
T33 mean at a certain category who are actually developmentally disabled. Mentally.
They are incapacitated.
Yes, okay. And they also compete and they get gold. And there is no gold that have a disability. So what we have said in our manifesto is that when we have school competition, sports, they must also be sports for persons with disability nurtured from the young age. Because currently,
Currently, we
to
don't
come
have
out.
that, do we?
No, we don't have. Schools of persons with disability don't compete in
So in
our sports.
the national sports calendar for schools, we don't have
We don't have
a
the calendar of persons with disability. We don't have that category. Unakuja tu unaonekana wewe umevunjika mguu, utaweza kimbia. Unawekwa kwa kiwanja at older age, unashindana kidogo na unaona we still win medals. Let me give you an example because in Rio 2016 Paralympics. There was Olympics and there was Paralympic. There were 78 athletes of Olympic and they only won 13 medals. That means 14%. There were only 9 athletes of Paralympic and they won 6 medals. That is 70%. So in that scenario, who is disabled?
Who should give more?
Who is
should get
disabled?
more priority?
Yes, who is disabled? Who should get more priority?
Let's take a break on that note. It's 29 minutes after 9. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. The Honorable David Ole Sankok is a nominated member of parliament representing persons with disability. We are talking about the plight of persons with disability and what we should expect and what we should be demanding of the next government, either at the national level and the county level, especially to address the plight of persons with disability. Ndu, the Communications Authority, has been doing a lot of work, especially regulating access to internet content.
Indeed. So in a time where children are on the internet quite some and asking the questions about who's following me and what can I watch, etc., the Communications Authority has tried to make sure that this is a safe space to play for children and to make sure that the proper safeguards are up so that you can also take a break when your children might be playing on the internet. And I put playing in quotes here, okay? So the thing is to continue saying that the CA has continued to make sure that the space is safe where kids can play and you can sit back and say, look, it's an open space and these opportunities have been created to make sure that we can learn and play at the same time.
And speaking about accessing the internet and consuming content from the internet, there's a browser called Mozilla, all right? And now Mozilla has Pocket by Mozilla, which is making it easier for you to enjoy your content online. No more countless bookmarks and bookmarks holders, losing what you are reading, or time spent sifting through the internet trying to find something that piques your interest. With Pocket by Mozilla City, you can save what you like to your list, permanently access it even when you're offline, and the best part is Pocket curates content for you from all over the internet.
So this is like a personal PA.
It is.
That's what it is.
It is indeed. So it knows what you like, and then now it starts curating your kind of content. Go onto iOS or onto the Google Play Store. You can download Pocket by Mozilla, okay? And then you have it and you use it. Let's take this quick break. Time for weather and traffic.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
If I'm found guilty, there is no problem. I'm willing to serve. I have no problem. Jails are meant for human beings.
They say a society gets the leadership it deserves. If you have a corrupt, crooked and rotten society like we have in Kenya, then of course they will get that kind of a leadership.
I think the president should dissolve parliament. That's the best solution at this moment in time. Dissolve parliament.
All of you go home.
Yes, we all go home.
How are we encouraging other people who might have new and creative ideas? Young people who are making money without any government help. They are just buying their own bundles. They are going on TikTok and making money. KRA is coming after them.
I've been in parliament for 15 years. We have been unable to pass the gender law. And yet no presidential candidate is talking about it now. Because we are fake. The truth is, all the men refused to vote for that law.
What did Sonko do to Pomwani maternity hospital?
Yeah, he
with
cleaned
his
it up.
own money.
Cleaned it with his own money. That was him as an individual.
Yeah. And I did not say he was cleaning his own money. I was saying he cleaned
Foot, mouth. Foot, mouth. Eric.
Okay.
The Situation Room.
15 degrees and sunny
Kenya's
conditions
biggest
in parts of
conversation.
Nairobi, cloudy in others. Highs of 25 and lows of 12 today. Sunny at 16 in Nakuru, highs of 26 and lows of 13. We'll see highs of 23 in Nyeri, where it's mostly cloudy at 18. And at 16, Eldoret is sunny, highs of 23 and lows of 12. The rain keeps coming down in Mombasa at 25. It'll go to highs of 28. And we'll see highs of 27 in the rainy Malindi as well, currently at 26. 23 and sunny in Kisumu, highs of 28. We'll see highs of 28 as well at 24 currently in Kakamega. 22 and sunny conditions in Kampala, highs of 27 and lows of 16, and it's mostly sunny at 24 in Dar es Salaam, going to highs of 28 and lows of 21. 11 degrees and sunny in Johannesburg, highs of 18 and lows of 7 and 24. A rainy morning in Lagos, highs of 29. 30 will be the high, and mostly clear. Kinshasa currently at 21. The rain is coming down at 28 in Beijing. It'll go to highs of 29. And it's 16 degrees and sunny in Paris, highs of 26. And we'll see highs of 22 in a mostly sunny London at 15. It's clear Sunday night in New York. Coming into Monday, we'll see highs of 30 and lows of 22.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
All right, continues a little bit here and there on Mombasa Road. We're looking at that Maradaima stretch, and that's outbound traffic. That continues. Looking at other parts of the city, Jogo Road was heavy from very early morning. Looks like it's not letting up, at least not just for now. Uhuru Highway, from all your exits and entries, it looks really busy, and it will continue just so for most parts of this morning. So let's keep an eye on things. Coming out of Westlands looks much better. And on the thicker superhighway, traffic more or less has ended, except that Bangani underpass is going to continue for some time. But coming off Wangari Maathai looks much better now, as well as Kiambu Road. I think we're dealing with the last parts of traffic this morning. Traffic hour is over according to the clock. Let's keep an eye on things this morning. Talk to us through the morning on SpiceFM, KE on Twitter.
Business news with SpiceFM.
I'm Dennis Aseto. The board of Airtel Networks Kenya Limited has appointed Ashish Malhotra as managing director to steer the firm's next phase of growth. He was previously the group head of sales and marketing at Airtel Africa, leading the function of 14 countries where Airtel is operational. In this role, he was instrumental in doubling revenues, streamlining pricing principles, and building strong, unique selling propositions across the countries. Over 33,000 women have benefited from maternal, newborn and child health interventions by Safaricom Foundation, the county government of Lamu and Farm Access. The maternal, neonatal and child health program reduced the delay in access to care by linking up over 11,900 women in hard-to-reach areas, representing 60% reduction in distances covered. There has also been an improvement with over 2,400 successful referrals and over 12,000 skilled deliveries, reducing the risk of maternal and infant mortality. Somalia has awarded licenses to 2 foreign banks as the troubled Horn of Africa nation opens up the industry to international lenders. State-owned Bank Misri of Egypt and Turkey's Ziraat Katilim will become the first international banks to operate in the country. The country of 15 million people has at least half a dozen commercial banks, with some offering services via the Hawala system, an informal network of money transfers conducted through face-to-face guarantees. Now, WhatsApp has announced the launch of the WhatsAppreneurs campaign, profiling small entrepreneurs from Africa who are using the WhatsApp business app to grow their business and reach more customers. The campaign will highlight the stories of small and medium business owners in Africa and help them and others like them learn more about business growth opportunities available with the WhatsApp business app through a virtual educational webinar. For Spice Business, I'm Dennis Aseto.
SpiceFM Business. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
23 minutes to 10. The conversation continues. Eric Latiff, Ndu Okoh, CT Muga, and our guest, the Honorable David Olesankok, Member of Parliament. We're talking about how to mainstream the issues of persons with disability in our politics and making sure that as we talk, as we interview our prospective candidates for the next election, we're also looking at what they consider and what they think about persons with disability. Interesting statistics that you're giving us here. 148,000 people living with severe disability in this country. They require constant care, 24-hour care from their caregivers, be it their parents, be it their siblings, be it the extended family, and yet only 47,200 are currently benefiting from the 2,000 shillings a month, which doesn't necessarily come every month, right?
Yeah, every 2 months.
Yeah, they are not actually even getting that regularly as they should, are they? And then there are very many other people with other forms of disability who should be getting other forms of support into getting access to opportunities in the country. They are not. In the years that you've been a member of parliament, especially on this one of looking at budgetary allocation and support for persons with disability, how have you reached out to your fellow members of parliament? Because you see, parliament is about debate and convincing your fellow parliamentarians so they can vote with you. Have you made any attempt to have them vote with you, either in bills brought before the House, in voting in a certain way? Have you?
I think if you are very attentive when we have debates, I'm very popular among all our members, either from the other side of the political divide and from my side of the political divide. ODM members are my great friends and great supporters, and occasionally we have made sure that we have ensured that, first of all, Article 54 of our Constitution is met, that demand that appointive positions should be reserved for 5% of them should be reserved to persons with disabilities. Again, there was a bill, an amendment to the NHIF bill, which now we have put into the UDA manifesto, in which we want provision of CC devices to be covered by NHIF. Because it beat logics for you to travel from Peketoni or from Turkana to come to Nairobi to get an assistive device, let's say crutches, that cost 1,500. Yet your transportation alone is 10,000. It does not make any sense. And again, when you come to Nairobi, you'll be told, hatuna hiyo, Kenya tuko nayo ni hii. So you end up becoming more disabled. Because if today I come to Nairobi and what they have is a wheelchair, they'll give me a wheelchair. Practically, I will not be moving. I will not be mobile. So I will end up becoming more disabled. But if they gave me crutches, I'll be exercising as I move around. Yes? So that one is better for me. If today you come to Nairobi and you are given a shorter crutch than what you actually require, then you will be walking bending. That will cause your back to bend and cause kyphosis or lordosis and end up creating more disability than what you already had. That is why we have said NHIF should cover provision of assistive devices so that I go to the health center that is next to me. They know that their catchment area, they have 20 persons with disability.
Yeah.
2 of them require auxiliary crutches. Those are armpits. The other one require elbow crutches. There are one that require a wheelchair, and this is the size of the wheelchair they require. So once they come with the NHIF card, they take the wheelchair, they will replace the same customized wheelchair in case the other one get damaged, they will get it there. So by that, we will make sure that they get the right prescribed assist devices for every individual and again get closer to themselves. That bill was supported by all members of parliament, but during that reading, unfortunately, we were caught by time. But we have now put it in our manifesto.
Wait,
in
so
the
it did
UDA
not
manifesto.
go into the NHIF?
It did not
bill
go
that's-
through
that got
because
signed?
we were caught by time. We were in the third reading. And then parliament ikafika mwisho. But we have now put it in our manifesto in UDA. If God willing, UDA form the government, then it will be part of the law that will be there.
Okay.
And again, you know, persons with disability don't pay taxes. Because we said, unlike a farmer who walk around majestically and with a swag, without necessarily paying for that swag, for me to be able to walk, I have to buy my crutches. So the government waive my taxes so that I can use my taxes to buy my legs, because you don't buy your legs. Again, in Kenya, persons with disability import vehicle duty free. Because unlike for you, where a car is a luxury, for me it may be a necessity. Because you can walk for 500 meters, for 1 kilometer, but for me, when on a wheelchair, I cannot even walk for 100 meters. So I will require that car as a basic need, not as a luxury. That is why the government does not charge any taxes. Again, in ministries and departments and agencies of the government, there is what we call performance contracting. For you to get marks, you must also show as a ministry and a department and an agency of the government how you have mainstreamed person with disability. Kenya Sign Language is the third official language of Kenya, examinable by NEC, the Kenya National Examination Council. So today, a student, a people in class 8 or Form 4 can choose either to do English and Swahili or to do English and Sign Language and still get the marks, so that we get so many people in all fields, because pupils who are through secondary school or primary will go other study to become doctors, engineers, and producers like you. So as many as possible people know sign language, so that when that person who is deaf walk into a hospital, at least there is one doctor or one nurse who can communicate with them confidentially.
Do you think Parliament has enough representation of persons with disability? Are you enough?
Of course, we are not enough, because according to 5% representation, if you say 349 members of Parliament, then 5% of 349 is around 15, around 17.
And how many are you?
Currently, we are 12. There are several who are elected, and there are only 2 who are nominated to represent persons with disability in National Assembly and 2 in Senate. So we can say through having even those 2 nomination slots, we have some say, because we have to start from somewhere. And then again, we will be empowered economically, being given platform as a person who have been nominated. I already have a platform to discuss like what I'm doing here. So I can now go and contest and probably being elected. An example is somebody like Janet Teia, who was nominated in 2013, but then was elected as a women representative of Kajiado in 2017. Tim Wanyunya have never been nominated, but he have been elected. So there, Yusuf have never been nominated. He have been elected in
Danita Gati.
So Danita was elected first of all when he was not on a wheelchair, and then again nominated after becoming a wheelchair, because our club, unfortunately, is everybody is a potential candidate to our club. Only that we pray for God not to add our club, because we are full. We don't want more people, because if you come, you will compete the meager resources that have been allocated to us.
As you mentioned resources, I think that's one of the things that jumps out at me as you talk about the manifesto. And this, because the question is, a lot of things have not been done in the current time. You talked about, the third reading having been gone, and if it had passed, then it would have become law. Right? Now, in order for some of these things to happen, whether we're calling across board, NHIF, this, that, or the other thing, requires funding, requires money.
Yes.
And that would be the reason as to why they've not been done. Many would claim that as the reason as to why these things have not been done in the past. How will they be done? If the manifesto then is something to go by, how will they be done in the future? And where will this money come from?
My argument have been, if NHIF can cover diabetes, for instance, which someone can be using drugs of 10,000 per month. And personally, I use crutches for a whole year or 2 years that cost 1,500. So we don't need an additional resources to be able to have that NHIF card and to have those hospitals be able to provide those assistive devices. So I think we don't need an additional fund, because already NHIF is even covering for dialysis, which is more expensive, 9,000 per session, 18,000 per week, meaning a lot of thousands per month. But we only need maybe crutches for a whole 2 years. Somebody will require a wheelchair of 30,000 or even 20,000 for a whole 3 or 4 years. So I think it will not add anything. It is only for us to make it to be low, that as you give drugs for diabetes, high blood pressure, also give assistive devices. And again, we have said, and I have told you, that we are not seeking sympathy. We are seeking more of opportunities. We have said, we have told the UDA, we have heard you talking about the Hustler Fund. 5% of that Hustler Fund should be allocated to businesses owned by persons with disability. We have told them market stalls. 5% of all market stalls should be allocated to persons with disability. Sio kutujengea sokoni yetu pale, kwa sababu hata hakuna customers wenye wanaenda kununua kwa walemavu. Lakini tukikuwa kwa ile soko ya kawaida, 5% ground floor pale ambao we can access, then they are allocated. In the affordable housing, all the ground floors should be allocated to persons with with disability. We have also told them that in the manifesto, in all bursaries, CDF, national government bursaries, county government bursaries, 15% should be set aside for pupils with disability, so that they don't drop out of school because they don't have plan B. You know, you have plan B. You can be a watchman, by the way. But me siwezi kuwa watchman. Watavunja hii mguu ingine moja niko nayo. So jamini, mimi nisomeshwe ndio niweze kufanya kazi.
Have you also engaged with the other campaigns? So yes, you of course are in UDA, so you've been dealing with the Kenya Kwanza campaign and the Kenya Kwanza manifesto. But has your message as persons living with disability also gone to the Azimio campaign, to Wajakoya campaign and to Wahiga Mwaura?
Wajakoya is funny because he's dealing with highness. And you know, person with disability hatuwezi kimbizana na highness. I don't know atashika namna gani. We only have 10,000 highness in Kenya. Hata tukishika yote, unajua hiyo vitu yenye anatoa. It will only be around 1.2 billion Kenya shillings. Now you'll use 600 million kufukuzana na haina. And you know, haina serve a lot of work pale. Kwa sababu hiyo ndio biological cabbage collectors. Ile chakula yote imeoza ndio wanakole. Sasa sijui kama tutaweka malori ya kwenda sasa collect hiyo baada ya sisi kudeal na hyenas. I don't know how the ecosystem will be balanced without the hyenas. Anyway, we are not going there. So, you know, I will only go to a place where I've been given audience, where I've been given a platform, where I've been given hearing. Now, the deputy president, I've been courteous enough. In fact, between 2014 and 2017, I had an office as the chairman National Council for Persons with Disability within Harambee House Annex, within the DP's office, where then every now and then I can tell him what we require as persons with disability. What we had achieved, like the tax exemption and other issues, is because of the good relationship that we had with the deputy president in the first term of Jubilee, and I was the chairman National Council for Persons with Disability, so that we can negotiate with them. So when you ask me about Azimio, I may not be aware. But if they need my point, and that's why I'm here, because I know everybody is listening. Even the Azimio brigades are listening. I've severally called leaders from even of persons with disability who are aligned to Azimio, and I've explained to them.
But Honorable Sanko,
yes,
you are in the parliamentary caucus of members of parliament with disability.
Yes.
You have said, Mheshimiwa Wanyonyi, he's in Azimio.
Yes, I know.
Denita Gati is in Azimio.
Yes.
Have you, as a caucus of parliamentarians and as leaders of persons with disability in this country, come up with your own demand?
When we are pushing for
and
this...
then said, wewe Sankok, peleka kwa Kenya Kwanza. Wewe Denita Nanani, peleka kwa Azimio. Have you done that?
I've met with them severally. I've explained my points because naturally they know that I'm more experienced, having been the chairman National Council for Persons with Disability, the chairman East African Council for Persons with Disability. So we have met as members of parliament. I've even called, like somebody called Nixon Kakiri, who is deaf and is in the Azimio campaign. I've called most of them and told them, okay, as you support Azimio, please make sure that these issues are captured in your manifesto so that we get. But I've seen them more of handouts, you know, in that little manifesto that I saw from Azimio. There was more of handouts than actually what we require, empowerment. So I don't know, but you can only ask me from where
you've presented,
where I have the voice.
Are you vying this time to be elected?
No.
Would you wish to be nominated again?
Let us first of all deal. You know that's more personal.
Yeah.
Let us first of all deal.
Are you vying as a member of parliament? You have said no.
Yes.
Would you like to be nominated? I'm asking this because you even said yourself, and it was widely circulating. You were complaining about the culture of handouts in this country.
Yes.
And you said, in fact, for this reason, people come asking you for money all the time. You can never seek elective office.
Now, my brother, you know you are going a bit too far. Because, but if you need, I will tell you, my duty and my mission was to make sure that I support William Ruto. Once he becomes the president, I'll be certified because I know persons with disability needs will be captured. And again, the issue of contesting or not contesting is a personal decision. I decided this time around not to seek any elective position. I need to do a bit of my businesses, because I started engaging in the advocacy of persons with disability at a very early age. So I never had time to also
Personal development.
Personal development. So that is what it is. So on the issue of mobility devices, we have told the UDA that all mobility devices that are imported should be exempted from duty.
How will you hold them accountable?
The other very important
If they get to office,
yes,
and let's assume that Kenya Kwanza actually wins, William Ruto is sworn in as president.
Yes.
Okay? The manifesto that has been presented that contains all these issues
Yes.
is now to be implemented. How will you hold them accountable?
Because we started
How will
first
you
of
make
all
sure that they deliver?
We started first of all with an economic charter in which we sign and they sign. So if I cannot hold you accountable under your signature and under your pronunciation, because they signed the economic charter for person with disability, all the issues that we have given them had been captured in their manifesto. So orderly they have explained that they have captured, and in written they have signed.
That's what
so
I'm asking. In that document, is there a clause that says this is how we shall make sure that you deliver?
Once we have signed a charter, I think, then if you don't implement, surely even Kenyans will start now saying,
Every contract
if
has an
we
enforcement
cannot
clause, man.
If we cannot hold you accountable under your signature, yes, or from your words that you have pronounced during the launch of the manifesto, then
It wouldn't be the first time somebody has used words and then did not come through on the promise that they've made through their words.
give me an example.
Oh my goodness, I don't even know where to start from now. In
10
terms
years,
of,
10
I have
years.
said I'm going to do something and then I didn't actually do it.
Okay.
Because what you're saying now is by virtue of the fact that somebody has said, I am going to take you for lunch, CT, at 2:00.
Yeah.
On it, CT now knows for sure I will take him just because I've said it. But yesterday I told CT I was going to take him for dinner. I didn't take him. Last week I said I was going to
Let me ask
pay
you
a
another
visit.
issue.
I didn't. But then just because I've said it today that I will take you for lunch, CT knows, this one.
Why are we electing either voting for Ruto or Raila? It's because of their manifesto that they have promised Kenyans.
Actually,
But no. Actually, we are saying
wait.
for real that
No.
that time has passed. Because we have seen historically that anybody has said something and has not done it. So we are saying today, and that's why we're asking the questions that we're asking today, that it cannot be words anymore.
Wait, is there
And
a clause?
How are you guaranteed that these words that have been spoken
There is no
will
election
actually
in
be
this
done on?
country.
Oh no.
Or there's no one who's elected on the basis of the manifesto they have.
No.
That is not how Kenyans elect.
Now, I wanted to ask you a question. Now, because we are going to voting, there are things that have been promised to women, youth, and everybody.
They're always
Do they
promised.
have a clause? Because you are asking now for person with disability if there is a clause. So I'm asking you, if the youth have a clause, then I will go and seek for the clause. But if they don't have, then all of us will now take them by their signatures and by their words.
How can
let me ask you the
how can we
question.
how can we, because you are going to be like me, just a voter in this election, right? How do you and I, David, hold these people that we're going to elect to account?
We will have a representative in National Assembly. Some of these policies will go through National Assembly, will go through the Senate, we'll have a representative in the County Assembly, and so on. Now, because I am seeing time is running, there's also an important thing that we had said. National Council for Persons with Disability currently, yes, have 1.8 billion Kenya shillings.
For what?
1.2 billion go for cash transfer. 200 million go for salaries. 30 million for AGPO LPO financing. 100 million for albinism. 100 million for autism. 50 million for assist devices. 50 million for bursaries. 50 million for infrastructure. 30 million for economic empowerment. That is for the entire country, 47 counties.
That's currently as it is.
As it is.
Okay.
If you talk about assist devices, 50 million for the entire country. Yet I have told you wheelchair users alone are 400,000. Meaning they need 12 billion. That is very little money. So what we have suggested, because saa zingine pesa ipatikani, is that there is something called National Disabled Fund of Kenya, which have assets, including Rehema House in Westlands, Rehema House in CBD, and Rehema House in Ngong Road. They have a lot of assets. Yet this fund is never oversighted by Parliament. It is under State House. Imefichika. Unasikia? Nimeuliza mara mingi maswali ili iletwe bunge ili tujue hii pesa inatumiwa kwa nini. So we have suggested that this fund should be merged and put under National Council for Persons with Disability so that it will have a parent ministry called the Ministry of Labour and Social Welfare and be oversighted by Parliament, because these are billions of shillings that can go to assist persons with disability. Because we have to give solutions. That hata kama pesa hamtapata pale, kuna pahali pesa iko hapa, toeni ingia hapa.
Good point. David, thank you very much for coming. Next time, come now and tell us about the politics of...
before I go, I've had this clip going around about the slap.
Yeah.
And I want just to tell you to read Proverbs 27:6.
What
A
does it say?
slap from a friend is better than a kiss from an enemy. You remember the kiss of Judas Iscariot? Iscariot.
Yes.
He's the one that imetuweka kwa hii mashida yote na mataabu kwa sababu of that kiss. Yet the slap of Jesus Christ when he slapped those guys wenye walikuwa wanauza mboga ndani ya kanisa na kuuza kuku na mayai ndani ya kanisa took them to heaven. So at times, yes, I'm not saying, because in any case there was no slap in the first place.
But you're
it
saying
was
that
just
had it happened, it would have been a good thing.
Had it happened from a friend, it will have been. So but it did not happen.
So the friend
So they are
fails.
just rumors.
So the friend failed his friend. David Sankok, thank you very much for joining us. David is a nominated member of parliament. Thank you for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation. Join us again tomorrow morning from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. We'll be right here. Thanks to the Communications Authority, which allows us to broadcast on a daily basis from Nairobi to the country. Have a lovely day.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world.